Okay, so looks like I should be live. Got some feedback going, so give me a quick mic check in the chat. I see I already got some people here. Just want to make sure everything looks and sounds good before we get into everything. Get turned up or turn it up. All right, cool. Oh, wow, lots of people in the chat right now. This is gonna be fun. Okay, so I think we're good. All right, we got a thumbs up and I can be heard. Sweet deal. All right, so what's going on, guys? We have quite a stream tonight. If you haven't seen through some of my posts here earlier today, which I guess you did because now you're here, but we've got a crazy build tonight. The most powerful build I've done ever since basically my own PC, which I built like 3 years ago now at this point. So this thing blows that away. We've got a dedicated build. There's a few things about this build. One, I just want to start off by saying this will be a build for a buddy of mine who's also a Fortnite streamer, a badass Fortnite player. He goes by G Squeezy on TikTok and Twitch. So I watch him, and him and I built his last PC. Actually, we've done some streams before on some other PC content done for him, and he is taking it to the far next level. So basically building the most powerful gaming PC minus a 4090, and we'll get into that talk as we go into the stream, but basically the most powerful gaming PC you could build with today's hardware today. So all the parts in total are going to be in and about around $3,000. So there's no sacrifices being made with this build. We bought basically all the top of the line parts that we could find in a pretty awesome case, which I'm really happy to get my hands on, this height case, but an all white build as well, if you guys do not kind of see what's going on already in front of you. So chat is popping off. Wow, I don't think I've ever seen this many people in my chat. So it must have been some of my buddy who's bringing over his friends from his streams and his following. So definitely appreciate that. Definitely appreciate you guys being in the chat. So quick, housekeeping items too. We're just gonna basically build and just hang out. Feel free. I'm going to try to my best to keep up with the chat, answer questions, talk about the build, whatever. So this is made to be just a fun, relaxing time to just watch me build a PC and answer your questions. And yeah, so let's get into it. I'm definitely gonna need to make some room here because we've got a lot going on. But I just want to shout out to some people I see here in the chat. G Squeezy, as I said, that is the guy I'm building this for. So go take a look at his channel. Go follow him. He does a lot of Fortnite streaming on TikTok and Twitch. Yeah, definitely the best Fortnite player I've ever seen. I don't even know how to keep up. I just watch and awe. So looks like we got Jonathan Talks Hardware in the chat. Sierra Ward, how's it going? Reluctant Hero, man, I got so many people in the chat right now. I've not seen this many. So yeah, so thanks for everybody tuning in. Let's get rolling on this. I'm just going to get some of these parts out of my way so we can talk about and start building, but mostly talk about what we're doing as we go along. So I'm just going to put some of these off camera real quick, and we'll get to everything as we go. All right. Lots of big boxes. Okay, I'm gonna just find what I need to work with to begin with and take the rest of it off the table here. Isaiah says, this case is fire. I do agree. I'm really excited to build in this case, the Height Y70. We were actually trying to find the one that has the screen that goes right here, but those are like a unicorn, impossible to find for some reason. This one was actually really difficult to find. I could not find any on Newegg, could not find any on Amazon, anywhere. So I actually had to buy direct from Height, which I guess I got lucky because I have a feeling they're not available again. But we were also looking for the all-white snow edition, which is always difficult too when it comes to trying to find parts that are white. So you pay the extra little premium that comes with them, and usually the availability is less than your normal stuff. So I'm also going to get this monster off and out of the way. She's a big, thick girl. But we'll bring this back into the picture once we're ready. All right. Okay, now we've got a lot more space to deal with here. Much, much better. All right, let's check out the chat here real quick. Let's see, Kira Busto says, how long do you think it takes you for something like this? If I was just building without chatting with you guys and taking the pauses that I'm taking right now, it would probably take me, if I was speed building something like this, maybe like about an hour. We do have a lot of extras that go into this type of PC build that isn't normally in some of my kind of more budget mainstream builds where I don't normally build $3,000 PCs often. I'd love to, but usually that, it's not something I can afford all the time. So, but yeah, probably about an hour to an hour and a half normal with the chat going strong right now, very strong right now. Very awesome to see that. I definitely will probably be investing about 2 hours or so. Depends on if we run into any issues, hopefully not. And I have to say too, all these parts are untested, so I don't know if any of it's gonna work. So that could make for some fun. So stay to the end of the stream because we gotta see if this thing's gonna post, which we will see. We will, at the very end, after everything's built, we'll power it on and make sure we get a logo screen and a post. So I don't just build them and turn them on. I build them, turn them on, and make sure that they run and they post, and they're going to be an operational system. Let's see, Isaiah says, do you build for local people only, or do you build and ship around the US? I have built before by shipping. Now I'll say I definitely don't mind taking that on, but generally what you have to understand, the incurred cost of shipping. I do have all the proper materials to ship. I have, what do they call that stuff? The Instapack that you can really protect the inside of the PC. So I can full on ship it, but you're probably looking at about a PC like this thing's huge. Probably about $150 or so just in shipping alone. So I definitely don't mind taking that on. Usually this is a case by case because G Squeezy is not only a friend of mine, I've known him for a long time, so he lives in my area, so it makes it easy for us to just buy the parts, and he's going to come by and pick it up here soon. But anyway, yeah, so I mean, I'm definitely up for the challenge. I've shipped PCs before. I've done that a few times and have some content on my channel where I've done that, but it's not necessarily cheap to ship PCs the right way where you would get them damage free. So that's, just kind of FYI, but I definitely would do it. Can't wait to see G no scope someone for the first time with it. Yeah, I'd say in comparison to G Squeezy's original PC, which he has got a very powerful PC right now. If I remember, memory serves, he's got a 5th generation or 3rd generation, because his Ryzen's weird like that. So 3rd generation Ryzen 7 with a 3070 Ti. So it's not a slouch of a PC by any means. But we're going full throttle on this one. So, all right, I'm going to switch my view here. So we got a little bit of overhead and a little bit of me in the building action. I said I was going to keep up in the chat. I do apologize. You guys are just popping off real fast here. So I'm trying my best to keep up. I'm going to move myself up here in the top right so we can see just a little bit better what we're doing here. So we're going to start off here with the motherboard. And this is the Aorus B650 Elite AX ICE. So AX meaning it's got Wi-Fi, it's got all the built-in things. ICE meaning, as you can't tell probably, if you can, from the box, this is a white motherboard. 2.5 gigabit LAN, DDR5, all the big top-notch stuff. And she is a beaut. I did happen to just unbox this one to take a look because I had to. But this is basically probably one of the most beautiful motherboards I've seen in a long time. I'm definitely jealous. So we get this out of the packaging. Don't think we're going to need anything else in particular here in the box. Oh yeah, even the Wi-Fi antenna is ice white. Lovely. That's going to be awesome. Although I don't know if G actually uses that. I think he just plugs right in. But if he ever needs to, he's got it. And 2.5 gigabit LAN is pretty awesome. That's generally what you see and more. It's becoming more mainstream, but not in the budget sense. It's more of a higher end feature. All right, let's get this out of the bag here. This thing is heavy. It's like metal all over. Yeah, check that out. Wow. That's a beautiful board. And then the front top here. Beautiful. Everything is nice and white. There we go. Full overhead view there for you guys. All right. Okay. As I said, looking into getting into streaming within a year or so, so I'd love for the trusted friend of G to build it. Hey man, like, let's make it happen. You know, we can, I've got, if you want to join my Discord, I have a Discord as well, PCTechHustle.gg/, I have my links actually in the description of this video and all my other videos. All my contact information is on my channel. So if you're serious and you want to do a build just like this, I will feature your build on my YouTube channel just as I'm doing right now, so you can see it all come together, have the confidence that it's being built right, see it power up, all that stuff. So I'm definitely in it for that, and I think, yeah, if we can probably work out shipping. And another good thing too about shipping too, if you feel confident, is we can ship it less expensive by maybe shipping it in parts if you're, you know, willing to put it together, if you feel confident with that. The main thing usually is the graphics card that becomes the kind of the scary part with shipping, just because it's so big and can rattle around and break things if it's not done properly. But anywho, Tim Hudson says, please post the parts used. Yes, actually I did realize that. I will, if you guys are interested, I will post, I'll update the description of this video either later tonight or tomorrow, depending on when I can get to it, because I want to give you guys all the parts links. But yeah, this is, you know, all brand new parts that you guys can get today. So we bought them all brand new, and I said it cost us, you know, in routes around $3,000. But I'll have that update so you guys can check it out, because this may not be the only piece of content I do on this. We want to see how many frames this thing gets in Fortnite, right? I'm thinking about 3,000, 4,000 frames, right? All right, so first thing we want to do here is, this is actually going to be a new thing for me. I have not yet built with the latest generation of AMD processors right here. So we've got a Ryzen 7 5800X 3D. So if you don't know anything about these processors, this is basically the fastest gaming CPU on the market. There are higher core count CPUs, but there are not faster CPUs. So the X3D is the big thing about it, where it's got the stacked V cache, if you know anything about that, meaning it is going to basically, as it says right here, the 3D V cache, it's the fastest thing on the market, and it even blows away Intel. All right, so we'll get this guy open. This will be a new experience for me doing this CPU. And it looks like some nice different kind of packaging they're using here. Move the motherboard off here just a second so we can get this going. Oh, that's nice. So it's like magnetic. Very premium feeling box. Like it. And there is our CPU in the box. Ryzen 7 5800X 3D. All right. Now I just gotta, there we go. Probably a lot of just packaging to make it look fancy just for this little chip. That's what we need. And these don't come with coolers, just because they're the higher end X series chips. I don't think, yeah, there's nothing else really in the box. I was just kind of curious. So this is just like a big piece of foam that protects the CPU. And then all we got is the CPU. So nice. Pretty cool, maybe shelf art, if you're into that sort of thing about displaying your parts on your shelf. All right, get that out of the way. Actually, I'm going to just completely get that out of the way for the moment. Keep an eye on my dog for trying to snag part boxes to eat. I'll make sure that doesn't happen. All right, take a quick sip of water here. Yeah, I see a lot of people in the chat I don't particularly recognize, so I'm just kind of curious how many of you guys came over here from G Squeezy's following. I think a big handful of you guys, and I think this is my most concurrent viewers so far to date. So definitely appreciate you guys being here. Hope to see you back on other streams as well. But we're gonna get this CPU installed here. So what we're gonna do here is open up the retention bracket there. Very gently open that up. Get our CPU out of the clamshell. So with these CPUs, which interesting, if you guys don't know about these CPUs, this is where AMD actually they switched their platform. They used to be what's called a pin grid array CPU, which would have the pins on the actual CPU itself. Now we're going to a LAN grid array where the pins are on the motherboard. So that's kind of how Intel's been for many, many years. But there's been some things with Ryzen where people would go to like install like a different cooler on their system and accidentally yank the CPU up with it. So this is definitely a more secured, better type of CPU platform as far as the installation method, I would say, in my opinion. But we're going to be looking for, right here, we got a triangle in the top left. And we've got the triangle here on the CPU, and we're just going to drop this guy in very gently, line up the notches too. So we got a couple notches here on the side of the CPU, and there's an indicating place for that. So very gently just bring it on in. Okay, and that should just get in just like that. Give it a little wiggle, make sure it's okay. Now I've heard these are a little stiff as far as first time installation, so what we're going to do is now we're just going to close everything down, and this little piece of plastic, which protects the pins, should just pop right off. There it goes. Beautiful. Simple as that. CPU is now installed. All right, so I'm not sure if I'm going to need these just yet. I can't recall. For the cooler, I am using the same cooler, but on a different type of AMD CPU on my type of rig. So I'm not sure if we're going to need these or not. We're going to keep these for now. You put the overhead on that and see where we get. But let's move on and get the next parts here installed on the motherboard. I'm going to try to keep my workplace clean here as I go. And just take a look at the chat real quick. Thank you guys for all the hearts and interaction. This is really cool to see how many people, like I said, this is definitely my most poppin' stream yet so far. From Squeezy. All right. Yeah, I definitely appreciate you guys being here. All right. So let's move on. We're going to do RAM next, and we are going to be populating not one, not two, but four total RAM slots here on the motherboard. So G Squeezy, in the nature that he likes to do things, I told him, hey man, you probably, for a gaming PC, 32 gigs at the most is a good amount, just because we're spending a good amount on this motherboard and the whole setup. And he's like, nah, let's make sure we YOLO it. So we're going 64 gigs of G-Skill Trident Z Neo, DDR5, and I think these clock up to 6,500 megahertz. Yeah, 6,400. So really fast memory and tons of it. And we're going to be populating all four slots, just so really for, obviously we want to have all the memory we can have. 64 gigs is definitely overkill, but you know, it's not going to hurt you in any way. But the main thing we're after is populating those DIMM slots to give a good full build look. Jonathan Talks Hardware says, I'm more of an Intel guy when it comes to personal rig. Intel still makes amazing products still to this date. I think we're definitely looking at another generation coming out soon. I think the 15th gen is coming out towards the end of this year, sometime like that, maybe I think fall. So we'll have the 15th generation Intel. Ty Hansen, we're professionally trained tappers. I noticed that because I'll pop in a G Squeezy's stream every now and then, and y'all be popping off in there sometimes. It's fun to watch. Okay, we're gonna get this both these RAM kits opened, and check this out. We're kind of trying to stick with the theme of white. So we got some red and blacks. We got some blacks here. The red is just on the Z, which is I think kind of cool. But basically, yeah, this should just look the part completely with this build. So there's two, and this is RGB memory too, so G Squeezy can sync it up to whatever color he desires to make it look ever so more beautiful. And we're filling up with a bunch of stuff on my table. All right, so I'm just gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, get all that memory slots opened up, and just make sure this will actually be funny. There's a couple firsts for me for this build. This is the first time I'm installing DDR5 memory. Don't worry, it all goes in the same. And we're just going to populate every single one of these slots, since we don't really have to think about it, since we got 4 of them that we're populating here. Yeah, that's coming. I think that looks perfect with the ever so sporadic blacks that are on the motherboard already. So this looks beautiful. And we'll have 64 total gigs. Almost did that one backwards. Just keep an eye on the lookout for how your motherboard's keyed when you're installing RAM. And easiest recommendation I can give for installing, just get it slotted in, push down one side with firm pressure, the other side, and you should hear those clicks that you guys probably heard already. I generally try to give them a little extra push just to make sure. But yeah, looking pretty solid with that memory installed. I think it's almost like they were made to be together. I like it. All right. Spider Rob says, G didn't skimp out whatsoever. No, he did not. I told him I can build any PC you want me to. The sky's the limit. You just spend whatever you want to spend. So we pretty much took it to the sky. Applecane says, hi there, hope you've had a good day. I've actually had a pretty good day. This is the highlight of my day. Unfortunately, I don't do this full time for work, but work was busy, but now this is fun. All right, moving on, we're gonna put on the last part on the motherboard that we're prepping for installation into that case, and that be the SSD. We didn't go too absolutely nuts with this, but plenty good. Which we got is an Samsung 2 terabyte 990 Pro. This is a Gen 4 SSD. This board, I believe, only accepts Gen 4, but this is massively fast for any kind of gaming PC scenario, where I would suggest like Gen 5, and again, it's kind of rare still. It's not as prevalent in the PC market, but Gen 5 is more of a workstation type thing. Sure, yeah, you can throw a Gen 5 into like a gaming PC too, but you're not really going to notice a difference between Gen 5 and Gen 4 unless you're doing like big copies, big type of workloads with big files. But this thing will run at, 7,450 megabytes per second. So pretty dang fast. And 2 terabytes, which will give G plenty of space to do all the things that he needs. So we're going to get this opened here. Like I said, all these are brand new parts that I've not even opened or touched really, other than peeking at a couple of them. So the heat is on for us. The pressure is on for us to make sure that this thing works from first boot. All right, here is our SSD in a nice packaging. I'm gonna get that guy out, about the size of your average stick of gum. So this is, if you guys are don't know your PC hardware as well as others, this is our hard drive. No more spinning parts, super, super fast, and it's going right here on the motherboard. Now it looks like they do have, okay, so we need a screwdriver here, just a small screwdriver. I think I got a big enough one to get that. Yep, there we go. We're gonna pop off this top NVMe M.2 cover. This board will actually accept 2 more below this heatsink, but we're populating the very most top one because that's all we're going to need, because we're only installing one, but G can definitely come back and add more if he needs to, if there really is a need for it. All right, so what we're going to do, and this is what I really like here, is this type of motherboard has just the built-in latching system where there isn't that little tiny screw. I wonder if that's my further away overhead actually. But yeah, this will help just slot that SSD right in. So we're going to get that guy going here. Line up the notches, give it a firm push, and that will just slide right on over just like that. It's installed. That's how easy that is. All right, take a quick look at that chat. I'm doing lots of talking, so drinking up on some water here, staying hydrated. Linda says, this is so interesting. I was always curious how these came together. Awesome. I'm glad you're finding value in it, and feel free. not just Linda, but anybody, if you want to ask questions. Like I said, I'm trying to pay attention to the chat as it's flying past me. I don't really have any mods or anything like that, so definitely, you know, let me know if I missed you. Also, not asking for it, but a super chat always posts at the top and keeps your comment there for a long period of time, just in case I happen to pass by it. Again, that's not me asking for money. Even if you did feel, you know, the greatness in your heart to donate, that just goes right back to my channel and helps fund things like this. So just letting you know, that's an easier way for me to see it if I happen to miss you guys, because I don't have anybody else looking at the chat but me. So trying to do it all. All right, so actually I ran through something I probably didn't explain. So what I did is I just pulled the little cover off. This is some thermal pad material. Basically what this does is it helps transfer the heat from the drive to this hunk of metal of heatsink, which is pretty shiny there in the overhead, to the motherboard, so that way passing air can cool it down. And we're just going to get that lined up, line up the screw, bring it on down, and tighten it down. Thanks for asking that, Tryhard. Okay, I'm going to see what did you ask there, Tryhard. I'm trying to find, make sure if I missed a question there. Let me scream at me if I did, but that's why I'm trying to take pausing moments here too, to make sure I don't miss what you guys are chatting about if you have a question for me. All right, so I'm going to get some of the trash out of the way since we're done with that. And we are done prepping the motherboard. So as a recap, we got the motherboard obviously out of its box. I'm just building on top of the box because it's a nice static-free, easy way to prop the motherboard up off my table. Plus, sometimes with these big motherboards like this that have the big heatsink material underneath it, sometimes when you have it down on a surface that doesn't give a little bit like cardboard does with this box, the motherboard can tend to rock a little bit and actually make it harder to install things. So this is kind of like the known thing that PC builders do these days. But so we've got the CPU installed in the socket. We've got all 4 of our memory RAM slots populated with G.Skill, 64 gigs of memory, and we've got the 2 terabyte NVMe Samsung 990 Pro installed. So it's time to get this in the big old white case that we had earlier. So I'm going to pull this motherboard over here to the side and get the box out of the way. We won't need the box anymore. And bring in Big Bertha. Now I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I have not ever built in this case, and it is gigantic. So I'm going to try to give you guys some good perspective here. Let me know if I happen to be just looking at giving that bad viewing angle for y'all. Actually, I think I want to move it over here a little bit. Stand by. But I've not ever built in this case, so I don't really know my way around it too well. The most I know about it is just seeing some other tech YouTubers building in it. But what we got here is, if you weren't here at the very start when I had this up on the table, this is the Height Y70 Snow White Edition, Snow Edition. So Snow's a common name, obviously, because it's white, but a lot of case manufacturers call their product Snow if it's all white like this. G Squeezy loves his white parts and cases. His previous build was primarily all white as well. We were, as I mentioned, going for the one that has the built-in LCD screen that would go right here. That would have been super awesome. Again, like I said, it's a bit of a unicorn to find, and G and I looked for I think it was probably like 6 weeks or so, maybe more, trying to find that case and just could not find it anywhere. I even took to eBay to see what scalpers were selling them for, and it was ugly. It was like $900 for this case with the built-in screen. So I was like, this isn't gonna work. And him and I came to the decision that we both think it actually would look better without a big old LCD screen blocking a viewing angle into the PC, which I think this would do better, because now we've got kind of like almost that aquarium style look that the PC is gonna be, everything's gonna be purely visible. So I think we made the good decision there, and it also saved us like 150 bucks if we were able to find that case that wasn't available but did become available somewhere, because the one with the LCD screen is like $380 or something like that. So we saved $150 just by not going with the LCD one. So it's kind of crazy. And we could always come back and do a custom screen if we want to, if G's really into that. I've done that before as well. All right. Tim Hudson says, so cool, can't wait to build this per your video. Oh man, so I guess you're taking some input from the video and doing a build yourself. Looking at some similar parts there, it sounds like. Joker says, hey bro, that case is fire. Yeah, I love this case. I am super excited to build in it. Now I'm just trying to figure out how to open it. I'm gonna try to pull this back panel off. I think all these panels just pop off. Yep, that just very easily popped off. So this is the back, which is pretty awesome. It's a wide open design where basically we've got all kinds of fresh air coming through right here. We're gonna have some fans mounted on the back side there, if you kind of can see it. That's gonna be pulling air straight through this back, very open panel. So, G, you're probably gonna have to dust this thing out every once in a while. All right, I'm gonna try to get this where if my passing dog doesn't come by and knock it all over. So I'm gonna put this off camera here real quick. And as I say, that one's trying to barrel her way in here. All right, so we'll have a quick look out back of the case. So that's the front. Here's what it looks like in the back. We're gonna get that accessory box off real quick. That's just tied up in there, because this will have our motherboard screws and everything else we'll need to continue building on. Get that out of there and we get this thing out of there. Perfect. Order an air duster as we speak. Yep, get one of those ones that I've got a similar one. Maybe I'll bring it on stream here in a second. I have to walk through all my mess. But yeah, there's plenty of good ones that you can charge via battery, USB. I've got a video on one I did a long while back. I don't think they actually, that company sells that brand or that type of duster anymore. But yeah, I definitely highly recommend one. One specifically, if you can find one that's got a filter to make sure you kind of trap some of the moisture inside of the actual air duster, and also any other particulate that you might be just blasting that into your PC. So I generally keep one air duster that's all I do, is just air dust PCs. That way I make sure I'm not sucking up any junk from anything else, and it's exclusively for that. So to protect your expensive components. All right. Apple's Cane says that case looks amazing. I agree. My personal rig, all these white parts are definitely really convincing me that I should go a different route with mine too. But I'm gonna just live through G right now. So these are mine to play with for now. All right, so some of these things in the box, I'll put a overhead going here real quick just to show you what came in the box. Just got some components here in the accessory box. So we've got some 2-to-1 audio converters. Some people use these. Not many people, I think, use these anymore. We also got our zip ties, some nice cable ties, very nice. These are Velcro cable ties, and there's like 6 of them, so very, very cool. That's definitely a premium feature to buying a premium case, which we have here. So I like that they included that. Even some, looks like clips for cable tie downs. I'm not sure what these are exactly, but I think that's what that is. Interesting. Okay, actually, you know what? I know exactly what that is. So that's genius. So where these panels snap in, and you might be, they're right here. Those, if you're opening and closing your PC so many times, since it's plastic, it could wear out. So they give you some replacement snap-in, whatever you want to call these, snap-in mounts for the actual mount for the snap-in, because all these parts just pull apart. So that's really thoughtful that they thought of that. That's not ever seen that with a case before. So Linda says, is this what you do for a living or just learn to do it on the side? So I do work in the tech industry for a living. I don't do this full time. I do this more as a hobby. So I generally say YouTube makes me pizza money, or just helps keep funding the channel for me to buy new lights, cameras, all the things that just help me keep running the channel, particularly. But yeah, no, I mean, this is more of just hobby, and I've got some friends like G that he needs a build, and he's trust me to spend all of his hard-earned money and work on a build. So definitely, yeah, not a full-time thing for me, but I'm gonna get what I need out of the bag. What the heck? Oh my God, G Squeezy coming in with a monster super chat, dude. $50, man. Dude, you already spent like so much money on this PC. That was completely unnecessary. Holy crap, dude. Thank you so much. Man, dude, that is way too much, but thank you so much. Yeah, now I better make sure everything goes together perfectly, otherwise I'm in trouble. All right, so let's find. Man, I can't believe it. That's a G with a baller super chat. So I'm looking for my motherboard screws, and I really like it how this is, again, another premium feel to cases. So these are labeled little tiny baggies. So I'm looking for, here they are, for my motherboard and SSDs. So sometimes it's a guessing game when it comes to doing this stuff with other budget cases. They won't label anything. They'll just give you a bag of screws and say good luck. Man, your finger slipped. Well, if you need that money back, let me know, man. You got my number. That's a major slip. I think you have to click like 5 times to do that. Oh, man. Thanks again, man. All right, so we're going to get these motherboard screws out. I'm going to lay the case down to give you guys the best, I think, perspective here of what I'm doing next to get the motherboard installed and get the overhead rolling. Beautiful. I think that'll work just fine. I think we do have to get the height. This is another cool thing about Height's case. This case is made for showing off the GPU, and we got a major one to show off. We'll get to that here in a moment. But what this does here is it provides a cable extension or adapter to take a normally mounted GPU that would just slot right down like this to bring it face up like this and really just be showing off, because we've got a monster that we're gonna put in here. But I think in order to get the motherboard in, yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to take this out just to get it out of the way for now. So that is a more unconventional thing when it comes to more like budget style building. This is more of a premium type thing. So I'm just gonna loosen this screw over here and pull this back and get it out of the way for the moment. Oh, Sierra, you saw the other build that we did? Awesome. Well, thanks for coming back. That was a good build too. Let's see. I think actually I think I can get that in there. That's a heavy motherboard though. I don't want to do it by one hand, so I'm going to get these other screws out too. The motherboard probably weighs, I wish I had like a scale. It probably weighs at least 3 to 4 pounds. With all that heavy metal in it, that's for all the heat sinks. So it's definitely a beastly motherboard. So I'm just going to completely remove the extension here for the moment. That way we got plenty of room to work with. Still in there somehow, some way. Oh, there's another. I'm doing this in a way where I can't see, but you guys can. There's a bracket that holds it down, or an additional bracket of some sort. I may be doing this the wrong way. Again, like I mentioned, I've not ever built in this case, so I'm kind of learning as I go. A little bit more of an unconventional case, but we'll get there. We'll get there. There it goes, and now I can lift all this out. That was just a little plastic bracket for the GPU. Get that out of there, and that screw. Beautiful. All right, so what we're gonna do here is height. Got a little bit of a reflection here from my light. I'm trying to get it where you guys can see that better, but height has it labeled actually. Another kind of feature with more premium cases. What type of motherboard fits what types of mounting holes here. So we're looking for A, because we have an ATX motherboard. The other ones are micro or mini. We've got a full-size ATX, so it looks like all the ATX slots are actually pre-populated, which is also, again, very nice to see. So that makes installing the motherboard very easy. And we're just gonna firmly grab it, not too crazily, but grab it and just kind of slide it on in here. We've also got a IO shield pre-installed on this motherboard. Again, like kind of another premium feature, and get that in. So that is lined up with all the screws, and there's actually a little nubbin screw. I guess that's what, I don't know, that's not the technical term, but a standoff here that we're placed on that actually comes up through the hole that kind of gets everything aligned and actually in place. So if your case has that, that's always great for that. That helps you get everything aligned. So we're already in line. My goodness, more super chats. Holy crap, people. This is, I don't know how to keep up. So we got, first off, I want to just get caught up on some chat. Isaiah said, this is my first time watching G's build, but we'll be here for future builds. Awesome. Glad to have you as a hopefully future OG. I tend to do I'm trying to stick to, time permitting, life permitting, a live build every single month, at least one, because I technically usually target a budget range per month. So actually after G's PC, I'm going to be doing a $700 build, possibly a $1,000 build. And then I'm also going to be doing a custom build for a friend of mine that his daughter has a golf simulator, and it needs some really kind of beefy hardware. So that's an interesting build in itself. I think I'll just kind of tailor some content towards, but they'll get the same, you know, all the same benefits of being able to see the PC built, all that. So I do builds at least a target budget or target theme or something once a month. So that should be a filling amount of content, about 3 to 4 videos or so per month. At least that's what I'm trying to keep up with. Like I said, this isn't my full-time job. But yeah, thanks. I really appreciate you coming back and possibly being here for more. So Josh with the $20 super chat. Thank you so much. Definitely not necessary, but thank you. Thank you so much for that. Again, that helps me like you wouldn't believe as far as just being able to fund the channel and do these things. I'm always looking to make the content better every single time I hit the record or stream button. All right, so we got some other chats here saying, glad to watch this, says Stephanie. Let's go, Josh. That says G Squeezy. And then another one from Alexis. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Awesome. Like I said, guys, not necessary at all, but I definitely appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. All right, so moving on. I'm going to go back to the overhead. We're going to get this motherboard locked down with our motherboard screws. I'm going to make sure I don't get too many screws confused here. And this is as easy as, since these are the labeled motherboard screws, I really don't have to think about it. This is a good time for me to just be able to keep up with the chat with you guys as I screw down all 9 of these screws. So we should have 3 up here. We had the little nubbin one right there, 3 there, and 3 there. So I'm just going to start in just a random location. Doesn't necessarily matter unless, although I would suggest if this is the first time you ever do a PC build, try to start at your angles. That kind of helps bring things in alignment. It makes it easier for you, so that way you're not fighting alignment. So I should have started with a corner one, but I knew I was kind of already lined up because we had more of the premium nubbin feature, as I mentioned. Good Lord, another super chat. My goodness. Isaiah, thank you. All right, I'm sorry if I'm butchering people's names, by the way, guys. I'm trying to read fast and do things, but thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Oh my gosh, y'all are amazing. Thank you so much. Now you're just, yeah, giving me more reason to never stop doing this. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. We're getting these motherboard screws in. I can't see that one. I am coming at it. All right, got it. In that very top left corner. I may have to lower my desk just a little bit. Thank you all so much. Okay. So this is definitely probably the more boring part of a PC build, is just getting these everything locked down here with the motherboard screws. Like I said, it's a good way for me to keep up with y'all who have just been blasting away in my chat. Good Lord. Guess I need a chat moderator. Although y'all are being good, so that's good. So no reason to kick anybody out. Not with the money y'all are throwing at me. Jeez. Jeez Louise. All right. Almost there. This is the 8th screw, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yep. We get this bottom middle one in, and we shall be good. All right. Okay. Beautiful. I'm going to collect myself here a little bit on the things I have out on the table, because we're going to have to bring in, I'm thinking we need to do the CPU cooler next, which is a very awesome cooler. I'm really excited about this cooler because, gee, I think you're going to love it. He knows what he's got. Him and I have talked through all these parts, but as far as just the general part that we got, I'm a big fan of the cooler. So let me just switch back to main scene here real quick. I'm just collecting all these little screws I have out here. They give you more than you need. They give us enough for doing more hard drives. So this thing is capable of so much like storage. Like you could turn, honestly, this thing into a server if you want. There's support for 2 mechanical hard drives in the back if you really have a demand for like big time storage in your, if you were to build in this type of case. So you can do 2 3.25 inch drives back here, and that can, you know, those mechanical drives can go anywhere up to, like, depending on what you need, you can get them up to like 20, 28, 30 terabytes. I'm not sure what the biggest ones are out there, but they can get huge in terms of storage. But that's not really a performance thing. That's more of, hey, if I'm doing some type of heavy workload and I need a lot of storage. So definitely not what we're targeting for this type of build. This is a balls to the wall crazy fast build. All right, so I don't think I need anything else in this, or this. I need those little screws to remount the GPU relocation bracket. And then we'll keep these height Velcro ties off to the side. Yeah, we'll just kind of get everything out of the way. All right. All right, thank you guys. And y'all are not only dropping money at me, y'all are saying very nice, kind things. I appreciate it. Definitely reassures me I'm doing the right thing here. Zaya says, "Here's to support people who are helping support G's future. I love you to support G's community." Yeah, it's been fun. It's especially fun helping someone who's directly a friend of mine, that seeing his channel, his content grow so well. And if this helps, then I'm all on board. So, all right. So next thing we got to do, like, as I mentioned, is I want to get the CPU cooler mounted on the CPU, because right now we have just the exposed CPU going. And so, yeah, let's jump into that. I think I'm going to scoot the PC case off to the left and bring in our massive cooling power that we have next. I gotta get full camera on this here. All right, make sure I don't tip over my water on my keyboard. I'm running out of room here. I need a bigger table. Maybe that's what I'll do with some of that super chat money. Get a bigger table. So what we got here, guys, is the Corsair iCUE H150i Elite LCD XT. That's a mouthful of stuff. But basically what this is a 360 millimeter. When I say 360 millimeter, that is the length of the water cooling radiator that we're going to be putting into this build. Meaning, like I said, this thing is a very fast, very powerful CPU. We need some very good cooling for it. And this is basically some of the best that you can get on the market. So we've got an AIO from Corsair. The really cool thing here too is it's got an LCD screen, which we'll get to. And G can customize that however he wants. It could be like, as I think what it's showing here on the label, it's just like a CPU temperature. You can customize and put your own GIFs or GIFs, whatever the heck they're called. I got one on mine. Actually, I had the same cooler in my workstation. Not in white. White definitely looks way more baller than, it's gonna just go together so well with this build. But yeah, so he can customize this however he wants. Very awesome. Goodness, another super chat. Jeez, I can't believe y'all. I'm not gonna get this PC built. Elizabeth McMillan with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I don't know what I'm doing right tonight, but thank y'all so much for all that. amazing. I've not ever seen this type of just chat popping off craziness. This is awesome. Maybe this is what you go through every day, G. Then yeah, just kidding. But that's awesome. Appreciate it, y'all. Okay, so I'm gonna put the main cam overhead. We'll have to do the little, I'm trying to make room here. Here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna get some of this out of here. I'm gonna just, once I get it out of here, I'm gonna move the box so we have more room to work with. But we're gonna just do what we can here. All right, there is the radiator. I'm gonna go to the split view here so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. Get that out on the table. I really do need a bigger table, I guess. It's not meant for these giant crazy builds. I'm usually doing little $500-600 builds. This is something else. So big table, I guess, on the way. There's the fans. We'll have a controller. So this will help us. We're gonna plug this into the motherboard and it'll control all of the LEDs and things. Comes with a USB splitter, just in case if you, excuse me, don't have a motherboard that can handle that. Or maybe you just have one USB 2.0. This splits it into two, which of course they're very awesome for them to think of that. I've had to use these with builds before and you had to buy them like aftermarket, so I like that they include that. And then here's all of our mounting hardware. So things are getting complicated here. So here's all of our mounting hardware for our build here. So AM4, that's what we'll use, even though this is an AM5, it's the same mounting. So that is for Threadripper. We don't have a Threadripper CPU. If you guys know anything about Threadripper, they recently released their new Threadripper series CPUs. They're strictly like server workstation type CPUs, but yeah, you're talking about, I think the cheapest one is like a $3,000 CPU, and they can go all the way up to like 10,000. So crazy stuff. Yeah, and this is Intel hardware, so don't need that. I think that's all. Oh, we got more stuff in there. Hold on. That is definitely stuff we're gonna need. There's screws. Yeah, there we go. I think I got it all out. All right, perfect. Okay, get this big box out of the way so we can work on this. I might need to actually just peek at the instructions just a little bit, but I think I remember everything. We'll see how it goes. So, interesting, I didn't think about this when I bought this cooler. It is designed to be an AMD. So basically it can really cool for all AMD platforms, but specifically it calls out AM4. This is AM5, so this is the latest generation. Don't worry, G, this is gonna work because what AMD thought of is they kept the same mounting architecture in place. So AM4, AM5, all of it works. We'll be able to get this mounted. Just calling that out if you guys ever run across that. If you're doing a build with this type of cooler, you'll know that this will work for an AM5 as well. All right, so let's get some of the things we don't need right away out of the way. So let's get these fans out of here. I think this just goes so perfectly with the build. It's kind of that white / gray / kind of silvery look. It's gonna look awesome. I think we really nailed it here. This fan out. And this one. I'm just tossing all this trash on there, and this place is going to be chaos once I'm done building here. All right, now as for the radiator, I'm going to put full overhead for the moment. Get the radiator out. G-Squeeze says, good people supporting good people. Absolutely, I appreciate it, guys. Y'all are great people. Hope to see you back on other streams. Like I said, if this is your first time, this is about what it looks like for me in terms of my streams. I'm definitely looking to do any kind of improvement, so definitely up for suggestions if you think I'm doing something kind of crazy wrong. But always looking to improve and just make my content better every time. Try to get that out, so check that out. It's that like laser printed on thermal paste from Corsair, so even the thermal paste has a design to it. So yeah, this is our water block that'll go right down on the CPU, which you guys will see here in a second. It's got the built-in LCD screen, as we can see, and it's got some heft to it for sure. Got that thick copper on there, and I want to get the cover for that back on here so I don't smear up the thermal paste wherever that cover went. It's around here somewhere. Oh, I don't know where it's at. I saw it earlier. It accidentally popped off. So we'll be careful here. Okay. That goes in one of those bags. And keep that on there till last minute. All right, so I'm just gonna put that cover back on so that way I don't smear that thermal paste, because we want to use that, not the, just in case if I do end up smearing or whatever. I got plenty of extra thermal paste, but yeah, check this radiator out. Man, that looks so good. So this is what we're dealing with. There we go. Corsair radiator, look at that. It's like they're meant to be. And it's got like a really like smooth finish to it. That's definitely a nice premium radiator. So now the first thing before we get the fans mounted on, I always like to do is just be checking exactly how the layout's going to work inside the case. And I think what I have to do is I have to pop off the top part of the case as well. So I'm going to do that real fast so we have some working room. I think this case literally just popped, all the panels pop off, which is really nice. A very toolless type setup. There we go. So I'm going to lose a fingernail trying to do that. So I'm going to turn it back up so I can get to it. There we go. So I'm going to pull up. Oh yeah, that was easy. I really like how this is a toolless case. Like everything is so easy to work on. There we go. So just getting that out of the way so I can reach into the case and work on it easier. It'll all come back together here in a moment. I'm running out of space to put things. All right. As it says, explanation is on key and your knowledge is amazing. Well, I appreciate that. I've been building, even though this isn't my full-time job, I've been building PCs since I was a young teenager. That's kind of what got me into PCs in general. I've always been in love with them. I work as a network engineer for a company. So I do computer networking stuff, data center stuff. So this is, although it might seem maybe overwhelming to people who are new to PCs and building and hardware, this is the fun part of tech for me, the less stressful part of tech. So looks like right here, what we're gonna do, actually I think I'll put this view on so you guys can kind of see. What we just kind of want to do is eyeball how this is gonna go in. So I want the radiator is gonna go sliding in like this. It's gonna mount just like that up to the top, and then the cooler, I need another hand, the cooler part or the water block is just, oops, I forgot, that scared me. This does pop off, so it's easy to maintenance if you ever need to do that. So we'll leave that off for the moment. That scared me. I thought it broke something. That just pops. There's some retention clips in there. So then the cooler water block will go kind of like that. I think actually I might want to rotate it more like that. Just kind of eyeballing how I want this to go. And if I had it like that, I want to make sure these water tubes aren't going to get in the way for us. I think how I have mine mounted, something similar. I'm going to actually peek at how I have mine mounted, but I think that's how we want to do it. Like I said, I have the same cooler on a similar motherboard, not quite as new as this one that G has, but I'm just taking a peek real quick. Okay, yep, I have mine the same exact way. So it felt natural for a reason. Okay, so I'm leaving it just kind of angled there. Actually, I want to pull it back out. We're going to get these fans attached to it. But the reason I was doing that is just to kind of eyeball it. I've done this before where I get too hasty and attach fans too quickly and then end up having to pull them back off because I did it the wrong way. So this will be the top. I'm going to overhead it again here. So we're going to attach the fans on the other side. So we're going to just turn it and kind of get things oriented the way we want. Just gently get this thing out of the way. Okay, beautiful. That'll work. All right, so now we can work on it. Now what we also have to keep in mind is the orientation of the cables. So what we don't want to do is end up putting it on the side that would be more exposed to the motherboard and the front of the case. We want to run these very nicely towards the back. So double check my orientation. This is Now I've got myself confused. I'm gonna double check myself. So if we're going in, just want to make sure I know which side's the back. So maybe going like that, almost. So this is more towards the front. So this will actually be the back side. Okay, cool. So the back side is facing me for now. So that's the way we'll get these cables installed, or these fans installed. For now, I'm going to leave the cables bundled up, but they have some cable connections, which we'll go over here in a moment. But just going to place these down on the radiator. Now, the way, if you guys are not familiar with PC builds, is usually the back framed area like this is the directional flow of the air. They do make some really fancy fans that you can actually rotate the actual fan blades, but the more open part is always the intake part of the fan, and that's what we want to be doing, is pushing air through the radiator from inside the case to exhaust air out and push it through the radiator to cool everything down. So we're just getting everything kind of lined up. Make sure I am correct. So I'm still doubting myself on the orientation of the fans. What I really don't want to do is waste time with it by installing the fans in the incorrect orientation. So doing one more quick double check. So that is going to be facing down. Yep. All right. So like that. Yep. So back side. Yep. Side facing me is correct. All right. Okay, let's get to work here on these fans. All right, got lots of screws to open here. Just gonna dump it all out. Big ones, that'll be for attaching the, actually before I get into this, I do want to not get ahead of myself. So we at least got the radiator orientation set up. We want to get the mounting backplate and all that set up as well on the, actually I believe it just uses, yes it does. So we don't have to worry about that. So this, if you have an AM5 or AM4, it actually utilizes the existing mounting backplate. I believe, I'm double checking myself right now, but at least the backplate on the motherboard. Now that was the same thing for AM4, so maybe it is a little bit different with AM5, but I think we're good. And this will go on the pump. I'm gonna go here to main plus overhead. And what we need to do is remove the screws that were originally on the motherboard that I suspected we had to remove. We'll just do it this way so you guys can see what I'm doing. And kind of just angle this. So the motherboard comes with these two white clips or mounting brackets. They're just plastic. We're going to pull these off because we got something else that's going in. I think what I need next, maybe I'll spend some of that super chat money on, is either a mechanical screwdriver that makes nice ratcheting noises, or actually a electric one. So I kind of thought about that, if that would add some type of unique element to the streams while building, is something that makes a little bit of noise to kind of give some satisfaction to what I'm doing. So what do you guys think? Like a more manual mechanical ratcheting screwdriver, or like an electric screwdriver that sounds like you're at the dentist getting your teeth drilled away? All right, that went flying out. No problem. No worries. Trying to keep things organized. And that that bracket's down in there. You can easily get to that. Beautiful. Okay, so I think here what we need to do next, these screws here kind of go all the same way. So what we're working with is these will be some standoff screws that'll go in place of those brackets that we just took off. So I'm just going to screw that on into at least get it hand tight for now. This is the same length. Oh, actually, this is slightly different. Now I'm double checking it. Oh, here's the best way to do it. So I'm going to match up the mounting screw, the thumb screw, with the actual part to the motherboard. So these two things, so these will come together on the motherboard, but I am looking at, this is the finer screw end, just making sure this is what goes on here. Yeah. So this will be clamping down on a bracket that brings it down onto the CPU, gives us good mounting pressure. You'll see it all come together here shortly, but I just want to make sure I got this oriented right. This more, it's probably hard for you guys to see. This is a more coarse screwed end that will go into the motherboard. So I'm just going to get that hand started for the moment. All right. Brie like the cheese says, lots of screwing. Yes, definitely. No pun intended. Lots of screwing. But especially when it comes to a build like this where we've got some more premium parts like a 360 millimeter radiator cooler to deal with. So lots of screws going in for sure. I like how this is wide open here so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing when I have it stood up like this. Thank you, height, for this. Come on, get on there. But these we can go about hand tight. Shouldn't have to go any tighter than that. All right, that should be plenty good. So the next part will be actually us bringing this part of the cooler, or this is just the faceplate that controls the LCD screen, down onto the motherboard. So scoot this out of the way, and we're gonna do some more screwing with 3 fans and a total of 4 screws per fan. Easy part about this is it's pretty mindless. So we just take the long screw with the little, now I'm losing my mind on what that is. Man, the other part to the screw. Why can't I think of that? The spacer, or the, so this basically will help create, I don't know why I went blank on that, but this will help create the firm mounting pressure on the fan to the radiator. And just get that lined up. And I just usually do these like kind of like finger tight to start with. And we're just working them one by one here. What I'll do is I'll just go kind of at angles for now across until I've got all of them kind of lined up, and then we'll kind of ratchet everything down. Washer. Yes, thank you, G Squeezy. I don't know why I totally went blank on that. I guess let me know if you ever have those live moments where you're thinking of something you want to say, and it's very simple and easy, but for some reason you can't think about what the heck you're trying to say. Yeah, I guess it's the pressure sometimes that's on. It's all you G Squeezy viewers on me that are keeping me honest here. I don't know why I could not think of a washer. This thing here, put that there. Yeah, very technical explanation. Sorry about that. Y'all were just crediting me on my quote-unquote knowledge of PCs, and I just looked like a dummy. Yeah, Katie, I might have said dryer if you were if you were to beat G on that one. So I'm glad he said the right thing first. Man, that's funny. Okay, so with these, you don't want to get these super tight. There isn't super high risk, but you definitely don't want to get these crazy tight. But there's, like what I was gonna say, there isn't super high risk that you can actually puncture a hole in the radiator, because this thing is pre-filled up with water. There's water, or there's fluid, coolant inside right now. So yeah, I mean, you don't want to put all the torque in the world on these things, just enough to make sure that it's good and on there. I generally give it some good screwing down until it starts to really put a decent amount of resistance, and then I stop. Don't have to go crazy on these. But the more modern ones these days, that used to be more of like a thing to be worried about when water cooling was more of a kind of a luxury thing, not as mainstream as it is now these days. And this is water cooling on a quote-unquote budget, even though this cooler is not cheap. You can do full custom loops that every single component that produces heat is capable of being water cooled. That's just crazy PC building there. And it's really not practical. It's more for show, for just kind of showing off. You have to really be a true enthusiast for that kind of stuff. I've always wanted to do it, but I never have really bitten the bullet to pay for it, which, you know, you can end up spending a ton more money on. And secondly, the maintenance upkeep on a full custom loop is definitely, you know, something else. Screw till resistance. He's taking notes. Yeah, gee, at this point, you know, when you want your next PC, this will be all you. Maybe we'll do a stream next on your next one where you just come over here and I tell you what to do. I taught my wife how to build a PC live on my last stream. You can do it too. If you're interested or have the time. I was thinking about doing one with my kids next. I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old. The 9-year-old has actually done a little bit of PC building herself. We just haven't really made content on it. She's shown her face on a video or two before, but like full on teaching my kids how to do PC builds, they're next. All right, so we've got all 12 screws on. I'm just going to give it maybe a couple extra turns on each screw to give us good assurance that everything is on there. It's a lot of screwing. This is where maybe a electric screwdriver would be nice. But I've always thought with electric screwdrivers too, it's like, is it going to over torque things? And I like the you know, this, I'm controlling this by feel. So that's the benefit. Okay, so if we did this right, we should, yeah, be able to put this guy right on in here, which we need to prep more screws for. Always more screws. More. I need the short ones now. Don't need any more long ones. Okay, that should be plenty enough to get us started. So now we got to put screws in on the top to hold the radiator up. I will get the other parts of the radiator or the cooler assembled once I get this thing mounted. But let's make way with that. Coming in hot with the radiator, trying not to bang against the glass. And what we generally want to do is kind of mount it more towards the forward front of the case if possible. That gives us the ability to have a little more cable management room while we're plugging in power cables. So that looks pretty good. So I'm caught in a weird spot. But generally what I like to do is get one of these screws, get it ready. Kind of hard for you guys to see. Let me actually, I think I can get this. Okay, perfect. So I get my screws lined up, screw holes lined up. So that's about where we can go. So grab one end of it, start working the screw in by hand. You guys can't see this. I'll do it from the other side in just a moment. But basically want to just kind of get this radiator mounted finger tight before we go ham on it. Just kind of like what we did with the fans. So I'm putting the screw at the front, which I guess you guys can see in the upper corner there. And then for the back, kind of doing a little bit of the same. The screw right here, just getting it snug so I can work on it without holding it at the same time. We'll get probably one more back here. That should hold it decently in place, but want it kind of flush. So that's a little trick if you guys ever find yourself in a bind for doing something like this, is kind of get it pushed up in there. Get the screws going so that way it kind of gets everything started and holds it in place. And then you can kind of really start to screw it down. I feel like I said screw 1,000 times at this point. But that's what you do. So we're just getting it set in there pretty much. snug up in there. Beautiful. Now it's in a good spot where I can at least get the overhead rolling where you guys can see a little bit more about it. I'll ruin a $5,000 PC live on cam. All right. I mean, it could make for some good content, right? All right, so we're kind of just picking and choosing ones that are available and screwing things down here. Getting this radiator nicely sucked up in there and mounted to be doing some gaming later. All the time, I can barely talk half the time, says G. Okay, so it wasn't... Yeah, it's tough, like when you're... Especially when you're making content and streaming, like you're constantly having to be the voice. And sometimes, yeah, I don't, that's why I never want to do like any type of like political public speaking, because like, man, there's so many times I misspeak in a live that I can't take back, but at least if I do a recorded content, I can cut it out. All right, working through it, almost got all the screws. Technically, I don't have to put all of them, but never hurts, and really honestly, doesn't take a whole heck of a lot of extra time to just add the extra ones in. Create some good mounting pressure to the wall of the case. But man, check out I was a little afraid with all the parts being white, because sometimes this happens when you have all white builds where some colors might be slightly off-white, like more like yellowish looking, but I think this radiator literally looks like it just straight up belongs in there. What do you guys think? Like, I don't see I'm not detecting any type of like off-white color going on. It's strictly straight up looking like it was meant to be there. Two different brands, you know, Height and Corsair, but I like it. All right, last screw for the AIO going in. And we'll be done with that part of the build, at least getting it mounted. Okay. Gonna check on you guys in the chat and take a quick sip of water. Been doing lots of talking. The all white is matching and so far is looking fire. Yep, I believe so. We got a good match going on. Okay, so I'm dragging this along. We're just gonna do a quick test look again before we get serious with it. But this is about how the water block is gonna mount straight up to the CPU. We have pre-applied thermal paste on it. We have to get the mounting brackets on the CPU water block. So I'm gonna do that real quick. These are real easy to install actually. So I'll give you guys an overhead look at what this is. So these are just clips that are going to slide right on in. Just got to make sure I do it in the right spot. So I kind of want to go in like that. I believe it should be top and bottom. Oh, I forgot about that. It's got the Intel bracket on it, I believe. I think that's what's on there right now. Is that the Intel bracket? Yeah, I don't understand that, why they'll ship with the Intel bracket all the time. I guess you got to put one on, but yeah. So we're going to do that just for the AM4 bracket. Slide that right on in there. It just kind of slides right in, and when it's screwed down, it can't move, so there's nothing to worry about it. Just make sure I'm going at it the right way. I don't think that's going to matter. Does that say right? That's got an R on it, and that's got an R on it, so it doesn't mean right or left. We're going to match that up right here like this and slide it on in. Try not to smear the thermal paste in the process. Get the other one on as well. Kind of just push it all together there. Good snug fit. And then we're going to come around like so. Get one of my, this is where you guys will probably see it better here. Get one of these thumb screws ready to catch it. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tip the PC over because I'm fighting gravity and gravity's winning. Use gravity to your advantage if you can. So I'm going to tip it over on its back. There's those fans and the radiator installed, looking good. And then switch the view here. Now we're set. So we're going to bring it right down on in. There we go. Give a solid push. That way the thermal paste is sticking to the CPU because it's touching the CPU right now. And grab one of our thumb screws here that's going to mount to the motherboard. This is where it's particularly important to do this in a diagonal fashion to have good even mounting pressure. So I got that one started. I'm going to come over to this side before I really hammer it down so that way they all kind of go down evenly. So I can pretty much pull my finger back here. All right, so we'll get the other two. Real simple. Again, just the little thumb screw. We'll tighten it down just a little bit too. Give it a couple turns with the screwdriver, but right now I'm just getting it hand started. And last one. So you can pretty much go hand tight on these. I typically, just because it's a CPU mount, I like to make sure it's got a good firm mount, not crazy tight, but you can go basically until it kind of stops and gives you good resistance, at least hand tight. So that's kind of what I'm doing, just getting it down, and then I'm going to take my screwdriver and give it like another half turn or so. That's kind of going a little more. I didn't get that one super tight. So a good half turn to full turn extra. Make sure you got a good mount on it. Again, you don't have to go crazy. Just get it nice and tight. So that's going nowhere. All right, so then we've got the LCD screen. I'm going to leave all the peels on. I'll probably have to pull this one off, but let's see if we can. Yeah, we'll probably be able to get to that once we have it all mounted in there. I'm trying to leave all the peels on it. I can to leave it as pristine looking as possible, but this is real simple. This just comes right down like this. Should you guys be able to see that? Should just, there we go. Just attaches with some electrical connectors. We'll get this untied because we need to run this behind the motherboard. G Squeezy says, I'm loving it. We just nerding out with adult Legos right now. That's right, man. I think I've said that to you before. This is just all adult Legos, right? It's just a puzzle. We're just, we're completing the puzzle. All right, I'm gonna leave that off to the side. One thing important here to plug in. I'm gonna rotate, maybe make it a little easier for you guys to see. Right up here, we've got several power pins to plug in. One says CPU optional, one says CPU fan, one says system fan. We're gonna go for the CPU fan and plug that guy in. So basically what that is doing here, I'm going to try to tuck this off, make it pretty. We'll definitely have the after build cable management to make it look absolutely stunning. So don't mind that for now. But what that does is, as the CPU increases in temperature, this cable connection will actually cause the fan to what would normally be a fan, but this is now a water pump, to ramp up or ramp down based on temperature. So it's all controlled through the temperature of the CPU to get the adequate cooling it needs. So the rest of this stuff is going to go behind the motherboard. So I'm just looking for a nice place to do that. I have to curve it a little bit here. Again, we'll make this beautiful, so don't judge it right now. That's half the battle, is cable management. I'm going to just tip it right back up so that way I can shove those cables through. You guys can kind of see them coming through, probably from that side. Yep, there we go. And I'm going to untie actually the cooler fans now that we've got everything in there, and shove them back as well. So lots of cables to deal with here shortly. Luckily, Corsair does a pretty good job of keeping things well organized within their ecosystem, at least for getting things plugged in, it does become a slight bit daunting when it comes to cable managing all these extra cables. They do have a newer series fan, but I felt like this setup actually went together aesthetically better. But they have the Corsair Link fans in ecosystem where there's less cable clutter involved to make kind of the whole RGB fan setup work better. So we're not using that today because we're using something that I personally think, and I think G agrees, looks better aesthetically, because we're going full aesthetics on this PC. There's no compromises whatsoever. I really do like these cable management like flaps. Like, they're kind of hard to see. See this thing right here? It's rubber, and it's just a way of me easily being able to run the cables. So height thought of everything when it comes to this case. I love it. It's so easy to cable manage. Just getting this last fan untied and ran towards the back. So getting there. This is where, to a novice, PC building starts to get overwhelming in a sense, because there's lots of cables to deal with, which definitely can be fun. I don't know, I kind of like it. I like to see it come together, but it can also be kind of overwhelming. All right. So, like I said, don't judge the cable management just yet. It's never something I fully do on stream, because that can honestly take, if you're really particular about cable management, it could take more time to do the cable management than it does to do the whole core build. So I don't burden my viewers with that right off the bat. So. All right, so I'm gonna take just a quick break here, take a sip of water, and check out the chat. Zaya says, super happy for you, G. Seeing this is so exciting. I can only imagine how hard you're fangirl right now. Oh yeah, I can't wait to see how this thing performs, because I am super excited. This is a monster PC. I'm gonna just clean up some of the stuff here because there's a lot that we've made a mess of. Thought I had a little baggie. Oh, here it is. A little baggie to kind of put some of the extra stuff in, because we don't need these extra screws or that other cable or that other bracket, because that was for Intel. So I'm just collecting things and cleaning things up and chatting with you guys. Captain Caveman, I guess. Tyler from PC Bros is a cable management guru. I watch them every morning, and the Toasty Bros have been on leave, and one of the staple builders showed off his skills the last couple of streams. Yeah, that's definitely, it's definitely, like, you can definitely, I think I'm an okay cable manager. I tend to lose patience and want to just get things rolling, but I always generally keep things pretty neat. I probably get most meticulous about cable management when it comes to like my own personal stuff, or like super high-end stuff like this. If it's like a budget put together $500, $600 PC, to me it's like, what, as long as things are kind of jammed away neatly and accessible and doesn't look like pure chaos, it's good enough for me for a $600 build or something like that. So to each their own. Cable management is definitely an art if you really want to make, because some people do some fantastic jobs. But anywho, so I'm trying to think what I'm going to do next, because we have more fans to install. I think I should get all the fans installed first, but that's kind of boring. I wonder what can I get to here next. GPU is going to be, unfortunately, one of the last things we do, just because it always is, because we have some things to plug into the motherboard. But I think, though, also, unfortunately, with the power supply out right now and not installed yet, it'll give us more working room for fans. So let's just, I guess, keep plugging away on fans. I know it's not the most amazing, most entertaining thing of a PC build, unless it is something that you'd love to see, but we've got a lot more fans. A lot more. Because we want to populate this thing with all the cooling possible, because it's going to be a beast machine. So we've got more of the same fans that actually just kind of went into the radiator. So we've got 7 more fans. Lots of fans, lots of RGB. If you wanted to go full unicorn rainbow puke, or we just keep it chill. I think actually this PC running like white, the fans or the LEDs at on like a white color, or maybe even like a cool blue or pink or purple, just one single color with the white components around it, I think it'll look pretty sweet. What do you guys think? I'm gonna get these fans open though. I'm gonna do one box at a time. Tim Hudson says, please add Microsoft Flight Simulator 20. Is there a new one? 2024? And XP12 to the benchmark. Or is it, are you thinking 2020? That's what he's, sorry, G, that's what he's saying. MSFS is Microsoft Flight Simulator. I think Tim's one of my OGs. And I know he's stuck around for I've done some content around Flight Simulator. Something dropped. I gotta go find it. What just dropped? I heard it, but I don't see it. Well, I guess I'll figure it out when I need it. It's 2024 is the latest? How did I not know that? So they did come out with a 2020, obviously in 2020, but that's 4 years ago. So I didn't know there was a new one. I definitely want to check that out for sure. But I'll definitely put it through at least 2020, since I do have that. But heck yeah, I'm getting 2024 then. Oh, I think I know what drops is just a bag of screws, which I'll need, but we'll get to that. Trying to see, I thought these fans might have came with a controller themselves. Oh wait, so these are splitters. Okay. Oh wait, I thought it was. Okay, well, we'll figure it out. More fans, more fans. All right, so what we're going to be doing here is mounting fans down the side here, but on the inside. The only unfortunate thing here that I tend to not like about these side intakes are the way the fans will be positioned. So from the inside, the fan is actually going to be positioned with the backside facing in. I mean, that doesn't look bad at all, but it'll be air that's moving in. So we could, in theory, go with, oh, I think there's little clip-on things. No, maybe not. We could, in theory, reverse that and have air blow out the side, but then we wouldn't have a whole lot of intake. We would have, I mean, there's going to be some down below, and then there's going to be exhaust at the top and exhaust in the back, so we're going to have way more exhaust than intake, so we'll have a kind of a negative air pressure system going on. So I think it'd be better to keep it as intake as we go along here. Okay, so with that said, I think we got a pretty good viewing angle for these fans that I'm going to be installing. This is going on the inside. I think I want to see, can I move this glass panel without breaking anything? The side glass panel. Does it slide? I don't know how these move out. I think they do, but I'm a little afraid to move them. Those pop out. I don't think they do. Or if they do, I'm just being really docile with it. Just kind of want a little more working space, but we'll deal with it. So let's grab some screws. All right. About to crash out, but this is super cool to watch. Yeah, thanks for joining in here. Bootay. But yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, I know this will go a little bit longer than my normal streams just because there's a lot more to deal with. But yeah, appreciate you joining in. Hope to see another stream of mine again in the future. Have a good night. Yeah, no worries if you guys need to bounce out. I understand. And if you're on the East Coast, I understand too. What is it? Coming up on 10:34. So I understand it's getting a little late for some folks, but I appreciate y'all being here. All right, so I'm gonna just kind of plan out my fan. So this one, although I'm not gonna mount it on this side, I'm just thinking about cables. So probably be running these down low, but I'm gonna put my hand in here and probably try to just get this started. Might have to Yeah, these will have to just start kind of loose and work my way on them. Yeah. The thing about new fans are with these types of coarse screws, you kind of have to like thread it as you go a little bit. So I'm just getting it started. There's one. To save time, we might skip some of the fan screws so people can see this come together quicker, but the end result will not have anything missing. So I'll probably just put 2 screws per fan to get things rolling quickly. And then we're going to feed. I kind of push that towards the top because I think I kind of want to get an idea. So that'll be the second one. Not mounted like that, but yeah, so that's going to be pushed up more towards the top. So I'm going to feed the cables through this hole right here that Height has generously given to us. Cable management and the other cable coming on through. So this is going to be a cable nightmare at some point. All right, so, I did exactly what I was trying not to do. So I got the fan backwards, trying to push air into the case, and right now where I got it set up, it's going to be pulling air out of the case. So let's flip that around. Shouldn't be a problem. There we go. Beautiful. Start that one a little bit. There we go. Get this in the correct orientation. Yep, looks right. Start it lower so I can see it. Always the fun part. Screw. Lots of screwing. Oh, I'm gonna have to get that one just ever so slightly down. Got that a little too tight. There we go. That should be right where we want it. Okay. Yeah, in interest of time, I'm definitely going to just do 2 screws per fan because we're talking, we've got possibly another 3 to 4 fans to install. So, yeah, I'm going to try not to kill all the time on the stream just spent screwing screws into fans. All right, just checking out the chat. So yeah, thank you for having us and awesome time. Fire, I gotta get ready for bed. Y'all have an amazing night. Can't wait to see the final product. Yeah, for one, yes, thank you for joining the stream, Isaiah. I appreciate the super chat, and thanks for sticking around for the build. Yeah, I know that we're probably gonna have probably another, I'm hoping less than an hour left in the build, but thank you for joining. Have a good night, and yeah, the finished product will definitely be on all my socials, and I'm pretty sure G's going to want to be sharing it on his as well, so stay tuned. Stay tuned. Get this next one on in here. Here we go. Is there a little rubber isolators that go on these fans? I guess there isn't. I thought there was. Oh well. They look exactly like the other fans, so that's good. These are definitely the types of builds that will get the core bit of it built, but there's a lot of extra little fine details that'll be done with cable management, tuning up the fans to, you know, for color, you know, all the little things that they say the devil's in the details, right? So I just realized I made a mistake. I mounted this fan. This is what happens when you rush. I wanted this fan's cable pointing towards the inside of the case, and I got it pointing towards the front side of the case. That's not good. That won't look good at all. So we'll fix that real quick. I think what I'll do, in interest of time as well, guys, I'll get these 3 fans mounted. We'll have others that are going to go in the bottom, but we'll move on to other parts, because I'm sure you guys want to see the GPU, because the GPU is definitely one of the major stars of this build, and I want to see it in there too. So these are what I'm doing is, unfortunately, the boring parts, but the necessary parts. The thing that stinks about these fans is they don't screw in real quickly because I'm having to thread them as I go. That's just how any new fan installs, unfortunately. Kind of a nuisance. A necessary evil. So this one's fighting me good. Alright, just about there on that one. Get this cable undone for this one. Dripped in Dixon honey. just wanted to at least pop in and show love. So excited to see the result. Good night, y'all. Hey, thanks for hopping in and showing some love. Stay tuned to my socials and G Squeezy's for the end result. I don't think you'll be disappointed. So thank you for joining in. All right, last fan that's going in on the side here. Let me just shove these cables through as well. I feel like I can take the front and side panel glass out. I just haven't looked at how to exactly do that, but I definitely want to figure that out, because it definitely would make working on this thing a little bit easier. I'm reaching around the side of the glass to get these fans rolling. Kind of a pain. I'm sure with all the nice things that Height has thought about, that is something that's doable. Oh, dropped that one. Let me see. I just want to take one more peek at this. Yeah, I don't know how that comes out. I don't want to be banging on tempered glass there. Okay, so this one will go like this. I think I'll feed this more towards the bottom. I'll run it through that bottom cable management hole, which you guys will see here in 2 seconds as I shove this through. Okay, so this will be for the third fan. Here it comes. Beautiful. All right, we'll get that fan or that screw started. I may have to adjust where exactly the fans are sitting. Maybe lower them a little bit, raise them a little bit. We'll get it looking. Again, that's like one of those detail parts. You don't just slap together a $3,000 PC. Like, if you really want to build it, make it look perfect. Yeah, I mean, you probably got several hours, even if you're an experienced builder, invested into it. Especially if you want to do some really fancy cable management. All right, almost there on this fan. I'm going to get these good and tight so that way they're not going to be rattling when we first start it up. Okay, I think that's good enough for now. So this is a splitter it comes with for controlling RGB and plugging that into one central location. So we'll have to work out how that's going to work out. Particularly, I'll probably have to look at some instruction for that one, to be flat honest. I did drop something from the other box, so I'm just curious what's in the box. It's down there somewhere. I don't see it. Does it come with a little controller or something? No, it doesn't. Might actually be able to plug these fans into our controller that comes with the CPU controller. So we're going to save ourselves some time on those being the only remaining fans that we install, just because that took a good solid 20 minutes just to do those fans. I want to move on to other parts so that way you guys get to see them. We will have to install this controller for the CPU cooler, because otherwise it's not going to be very functional. Yeah, I think that's proprietary RGB connections that this controller should be able to run off of. I think we'll be in pretty good shape. If not, we can buy one more. But we'll see. That'll come. We'll get this installed once we have the power supply in, which I'll get to here next. As soon as I run some of the smaller necessity cables that once we have the power supply in kind of makes it more difficult. So all this we got going on here is fan cables. So I'm just going to kind of stuff them up out of the way for now. Fun times. I've got my hands full for this one. But yeah, get them out of the way. So with this case, its power buttons and front panel connections are actually right here. So we got this is a power button, USB-C, and two USB USB Type A connections, and your headphone jack combo right there. So I need to first find out where those things are going. Okay, so we're gonna spin it back around a little bit here. But things are coming together. This thing is looking baller. I'm loving it. So those cables are tucked up and tied up right here. So the good idea is to get these front panel cables plugged in first, just because, like I said, when you get your motherboard rolling, or I'm sorry, your power supply rolling, it's sometimes more difficult to get these installed, and also when you have a GPU installed. So we want to get these done first, because they're kind of fine connections you don't have generally a lot of working room with. So with that, we got here, this should be USB-C, so a front panel USB-C, so G can plug in anything he needs, like could be any type of headset, SD card reader, whatever. Right in the front, there's also a USB-C in the back, then USB 3.0, and then we got the front panel connector, which, yes, I'm so happy for. I got to put the camera on this. Just kind of like NZXT does, the front panel connection is one full just cable that has all the cables ran to. So normally with these, if you buy cheaper cases, these will be separated into each individual tiny little cable runs, which makes a pain in the butt to plug in. But this will be really nice because it just plugs in and will be done. So very happy about that. That will save us some time, because we're looking for ways to get some time back. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be routing these cables into their kind of more appropriate locations and get them plugged in. It's nothing super fancy fun to watch, unfortunately, when it comes to PC building, but I'm going to try to capture the moment for you guys so you can see it live. Oh, and I really like this too about G's motherboard. It has a 90-degree angle USB 3.0 connection, so that's nice. It'll look pretty clean as far as install goes. And that one will go right up here. I think, yeah, through this grommet. I'll lay the case down once I got things kind of in their appropriate location so you guys can see it. And then this one will come straight on through, right there. Beautiful. All right, just give myself a 2-second break here. Tim Hassan says, no problem. GS, great PC builder you got there. Link to your feed is, okay, yeah. Send over, I'll I'll make sure I do that in the description too for this build. Is I post G's TikTok. That's one thing I forgot to do. Is I'll post your TikTok link in the description, so anyone who is interested can go check out G Squeezy's TikTok and watch him just slay people left and right in Fortnite. Okay, here we go. So this is the HD audio, generally always located on this side of the motherboard, and this cable only really goes in one way. I can't really see what I'm doing though. I'm going to position it kind of more like if you would be looking down on it too. It says audio. Okay, so usually there's a missing pin per connection here, so I can try to capture that. But yeah, missing pin, you can see it right here in the top left of the cable, and we'll match that up with where that is located in the HD audio spot. I think that's interesting. This, wait, do I have the right cable going? Oh, that's front panel. Duh. Here it is. I was like, that's not matching. So the HD audio has a missing pin in the second to rightmost part of the cable, if you guys can see that. It's kind of tough to see, but that should only go in one way, which we're just matching up and putting into its correct spot, and that is good to go. So we'll just kind of tuck that cable out of the way. Next one, we'll do the front panel since we were just talking about it. And that one, we'll just go to this is the whole kind of front panel location for, it's kind of more specific to Gigabyte motherboards. They do come with a quick, like easy connect too, but since we already have an easy way of connecting something, the front panel, we're just going to use what we already have, and that'll just go on the very left-hand side of the motherboard of those groups of pins. The other things that are open here, the open pins, are things that most people don't really use anymore. Speakers, like debug speakers. Most nicer motherboards will come with debug lights, all that stuff, so it's kind of a thing of the past, but Gigabyte still pins out their motherboards for that type of thing. I've not used a debug speaker in probably 15 years or more. All right, so next we're going to do the USB 3, and it's, as I said, it's 90 degree mounted on the motherboard, which is really nice, so it makes this cable run really clean. And these cables for the USB 3 are these flexible flat ones, which makes it for an even more clean run. So we'll just get that plugged in. It is keyed to only go one way, so there we'll just do it the only way it'll accept it. And then the last one here we're doing here is the USB 3.0, or USB-C, I'm sorry. And that is this is a universal like cable where it can be done either which way. It's just there isn't one keyed way to do it other than just making sure you get it in the right spot, which is right next to the bottom right side of our RAM. Plug that guy in and just kind of tuck the cable away. So that's all the major things that we want to focus on getting done before we get a big hunkin' GPU in the way, because that would make it very difficult to mount the GPU. But before we do that, let's get the power supply ready to go, and then we'll get to the GPU. We'll go back to the main scene here, because we're going to flip this up, because this is a dual chamber case, if you haven't noticed already, where the power supply mounts out back, right in this location. And if I turn it that way, there you can really see it. So, speaking of power supply, we're making our way here. Off camera grabbing it, it's a big one. I'm gonna make room here for myself just a little bit more. Stand by. Okay. PC building gets real messy, especially if you're a builder like me who just kind of goes and just picks up the mess later. So, what we got for power? We're gonna need a lot of it because we've got a monster GPU that's going in here, plus we've got a really fast CPU that's gonna pull, and we got a lot of fans and a lot of everything going on. So, we've got a Tier A power supply from Deepcool, the PX1000G, and the really cool thing about this is, obviously, it's a Tier A power supply, so it's a very top tier power supply. I think it's around like $175 or so from Deepcool. But the thing I really like most about this, and it was important to me for this build, is to have the 12 VH power cable, which if you're not familiar with, we'll talk about in here in just a minute, natively built into the motherboard. So we're not, or motherboard, natively built into the power supply as an individual run versus doing any types of splitters. I didn't want to mess with that. There's kind of been some bad PR with NVIDIA cards that use it, what it comes with. So really good power supply. Tier, like I said, Tier A gold power supply. Basically one of the best that you can get, and 1,000 watts, 1,000 watt power supply. Still will be way more power than we need for the build, but definitely ensures us if G decides he wants to go with a 4090 later, we can make that swap and we don't have to worry about anything else, just swapping the card in and out. But here the other cool thing is, it's white. Although we're not going to really see it much, but it's sticking with the theme, right? So it's a white power supply, and it has all white cables. So even more fitting for the build. So here we go. Open this guy up. So I think these are the cables. I've not ever used this power supply. I just went with what I've known about it. I never built with it. So that's a hefty, what is that? Is that, wow, that's a lot of instruction manuals. I think like in every language, but yeah, that's a lot. Which we're not going to use because I don't need it. But check this out too. Staying with the white theme, even a white power cable that would go into your wall. So we're sticking with the theme, guys. So everything's white. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. And then all the giant chunky cables. The good thing though is this power supply is modular, so we're not going to need even but like half of these power cables. So that's good. So we'll just get that out of the way and get this out. Actually, oh, check this out. White cable ties with the nifty Deep Cool logo on it. I like Deep Cool's logos. They're subtle. Just that little tiny hint of like turquoise green. It comes with the screws for the power supply, and it even comes with a white tester. So if you're needing, so what these are good for is if you're needing to like apply power to a component without plugging it actually into the 24 pin of your motherboard. So this will allow you to do that. We're not going to need that for building, but it's kind of cool that it's white too. Lots of white. All right, I'm just gonna actually turn this upside down to get it out easier. There we go. Get the box. This room is a disaster now, but that's how I do it. All right, get this power supply out of here. There's the opening. And all this out of the way. There we have it. I like that the power button. That ever so subtle hint of Deep Cool's color. And then we've got the eco mode or whatever for applying the fan on or off. I typically always just run my fans on at full time. Like these things are so quiet these days, like I don't really feel like that's super necessary, but if you're going for an ultra quiet build, then sure, I guess, but that's not 100% what we're after. But here we go is what I was talking about. This is the native 12 VH power connection that will allow us to just run one cable straight to the GPU. So there's gonna be no splitters. It's gonna be straight direct power, which gives me more confidence in being able to worry about no burnt connectors or anything like that. Just straight untethered power to the GPU without any type of problem with that. So, but yeah, very nice looking power supply. I really like this power supply. Awesome. And it's gonna fit the build perfectly. I'm gonna get the cables kind of out of our way for the moment. Come back to that because we want to get the power supply installed. So, got some screws that are supplied with the power supply. Retro Reanimate says, good luck with the first boot. I'd be terrified to press the power button. I'm not too worried. The thing about PC building is, even though this is more, I guess, like higher end components, they all tend to go together the same way. So now I can understand too if you're not as used to it, then yeah, you just, hoping that whatever you spent will work. I can understand that. Actually, I kind of got ahead of myself. I want to get the necessary cables ready to run, plug them into the power supply, and then get the power supply installed. So we're definitely going to need a motherboard. We're going to need CPU power. We're going to need some peripheral power for the RGB fans and the 12 VH power, the real important one that we were talking about. Logan Rain says, I'm vibing the white. I am too. Maybe my next PC build will be white. I kind of like it. I like it a lot, actually. All right, so here is a peripheral power. We just have SATA power, so we're going to grab one of these. We need CPU power, and what we actually have is a multi-CPU power connection. So we have an 8+4 pin. So it's not absolutely necessary to deliver all power connections to your CPU, especially if you're not doing any overclocking. But this motherboard has it. I want to deliver the most clean power we possibly can to the motherboard, so I'm going to get 2 of those installed. You guys will see that here in just a second. So we should have another one for CPU. Trying to find it. We got a lot of stuff here. So here's the motherboard, always the easier one to identify, the 24 pin. We need that one. Trying to find our last CPU power cable. There it is. And there's the other. So this one will end up splitting because it's a 8+4. So just like that. So we'll just split that as they come apart like that on the motherboard component side and allow us to run the power. Everything else. Oh wait, we need 12VH. Where are you at? 12VH. Here it is. I think I found it. Yep. And the 600 watt capable. That's pretty nuts. So this one cable can deliver 600 watts of power to the GPU. That's why people have been, I wouldn't say it's a reason why people have been burning them up, right? But it's the amount of power demand for these top tier NVIDIA GPUs is pretty insane. So that's why we also have a 1,000 watt power supply. It's pretty nuts, pretty nuts. All right, so all the rest of the cables I really won't be needing. They're just extras in case G Squeezy needs anything else later down the line. I think he'll be pretty well set, but we want to get these power cables ready. I'm going to do the 600 watt 12VH power last, just because I want to make sure I have good focus on that. I want good connections to the power supply. I want good connections to the GPU. So we'll do the motherboard one first. These are always real simple. These only go in one particular way as well from the power supply standpoint. So the motherboard, it's split actually into a 16 plus, my math's correct, right? Or, let's see, yeah, 16 plus, how many is that? That's another 6. Yeah, so anyway, so 4, 8, 10. Okay, so it's a 14 plus 10. So on the motherboard side, it's all just 24 grouped together. So we got 14 plus 10. We're going to plug these guys in on the power supply side. So we're doing this as a pre-step just to get everything nicely plugged in and not have to try to do this while we got the power supply installed. That would be very difficult to do. So get this all set up. Again, kind of not a super amazing thing to watch, but we're getting it done. It's still got 14 concurrent viewers, so some people are interested in something like this. All right, appreciate y'all. What is everybody doing tonight aside from putting me in their ear? Just curious, making some conversation. CPU power, we've got, I said 2 of these, so they're 2. Yeah, so they divide the CPU and PCIe the same, so we can use either or. I'm just going to use these top 2. And this should also go in one way. The thinner end of the cable is typically the side that it goes into. It's real easy to identify that on the power supply. It won't go into it with this thicker notched end. And always a good indicator too is the end that goes into the motherboard is typically the part that separates. This part does not. So motherboard side, power supply side. Here we go. Get that in there good, and we need another one of those. There's the next one. So 2 hours into this build, we're nearly done in terms of just the core part of the build being done. Like you guys have seen that have been here, we definitely are going to have some more fans and cables to run, but that's kind of the boring stuff, and we want to get to the meat of, will it power up, will it post, get to the final grand finale at the end. And then we just need one peripheral power. I'm just going to plug that in at the very end here. We have tons of extra peripheral power for other things. We won't really need a lot. We got plenty. And then the big boy, the 12VH power connector. Looks like Now this one, definitely want to be careful with. It looks like it does also key one particular way. I'll explain it to you here in just a moment. Although this is the first time I've ever plugged in one of these cables, but just having some background knowledge of it. So with the 12 VH power, you have a power sense side that has a little tiny microchip in it that will go directly into the power supply. I should just pull the other side away. So, or not power supply, to the GPU. So this is where you've got your sense wires here, these smaller ones. And there's a little tiny microchip underneath there that does the power sensing delivery to the GPU. The other side of it is more kind of basic looking. Well, now that I say that, hold on. Does this go? I think it actually is. Yeah, okay, I did confuse that. It definitely goes, it's the same on both sides. I was looking at it from different angles. So I was looking at it like this and this. So it is exactly the same. That is my bad on that. Just to make sure too, the connectors are exactly the same. So this can only go in one way on each side, but it doesn't matter, it looks like, on either side which end we use. So we'll go ahead. Make sure we got a good solid connection here on that power supply. It's not coming out. I'm gonna give another good shove because that's the only nerve-wracking thing for me is that. All right, next. Now that we've got all the cables installed, we're gonna get this installed into the back of the case. I see a little bit of off-white with this power supply, so I'm definitely glad this is going in the back. So that's the only kind of off-white that we have. Yeah, you can see just a little bit of off-white, but this is, again, the back side that really will never be seen. That's always why it's difficult doing white builds, all white builds. It's more of like a cream white. I mean, we could have even gone with just a normal black power supply because this is sitting in the back. You're never going to see it again. And I realized I just pulled a verge there and put the power supply in backwards. You guys didn't see that, right? Yeah, that never happened. At least I caught myself. By the way, if you guys have never seen that video and that disaster, you gotta check that out. So many tech YouTubers reacted to that disaster build, but yeah, the dude installed a power supply with the fan facing the rear, just basically, or the fan facing the front, being choked by the motherboard tray, so hilarious. It's the whole reason why you have power supplies like this in the rear, to breathe in its own nice fresh air from the back of the PC. So I'm just kind of doing the same old diagonal fashion here. Just getting things started. That should be good. Grab the other two screws. Tim Huston says 5 a.m. starts of the daily job, so I'm out for now. We'll review the great vid later. Thanks, PC Tech Hustle and G Squeezy for the build. Yeah, man, thanks for stepping in. I totally feel you. I had quite a work day myself. Appreciate you stopping in. Appreciate you always supporting my content. Yeah, more to come with this PC soon because we got to benchmark it and see what it's really capable of. So, and I'm going to check out that Flight Sim 2024, as you mentioned. I didn't realize there was a new release. I don't know how I was living in the woods on that one, but thanks for stopping by, man. Okay, we're about there. Just make sure that's good and tight. Cool. Power supply is in. Now we just have to route those cables, which is, this thing's getting heavy. Wow. All right, 12 VH power, we'll do that one last because that's for the GPU. CPU, so we got to route these guys up towards the CPU, which I'm looking, yeah, that won't be too hard at all. These hard drive cages are kind of in the way, but I should be able to manage. Again, guys, I'm just routing things for now. I'll flip it over so you guys can see where they go ultimately. And then we go from there. So moving right along here. I'll do the motherboard 24 pin next. And typically the reason why I do those other smaller cable runs first is so I can take those cables and kind of tuck them underneath and get them out of the way and lay over the bigger, fatter cables over the top of them. All right, this one, we need to come in kind of at a little bit of an angle at the top. We'll get this rolling. And then SATA power for the controller, for the Corsair controller, will stay out back. I do just want to manage that cable just ever so slightly better. I really like that height has these tie downs down here, so we can really take advantage. I'll kind of tip it here so you guys can see. We can really take advantage of getting cables tied down nice and tightly and neatly, so that'll be really cool. So I am just going to get that out of the way for the moment. And the last one we have left is the 12VH, which I'm not entirely sure exactly where that's going to go as far as routing wise until we get the GPU in, so we'll wait for that one. I'm just going to get it untangled up. There we go. Beautiful. Okay. So now, actually I'll stuff that one in too, so that way we can let the case lay nice and flat. Turn this guy around. Ooh. Lay it back down. There we go. Oh yeah, she's almost together. All right, so 24 pin. We got the tubes in the way just a little bit, but we're gonna put that right here where the only place it can go. Line up the notched ends and plug it in. Easy peasy. CPU power. I'm gonna turn this sideways so I can reach it, and you guys should still be able to see it. I will verify. Yeah, okay, so we've got, as I mentioned, a 4-pin, which is right here on the side closest to me, and an 8-pin. So again, like I mentioned, you don't necessarily need to always plug in all those. I always say if you got the cables, especially if it's a modular power supply like this, to do it, so that way you have nice, neat cable runs. But it's not always necessary. It's more of like a premium kind of like overclockers type feature, but it's going to deliver better power to the motherboard. So let's go ahead and do it. And these cables kind of pull apart a little bit, so I'm going to just do that so I can kind of tuck the other part of that cable back away. We'll get to that. Hopefully you guys are kind of seeing that. And then the other more important part of this cable run is the 8-pin. That'll go right there. So we've got total of, make sure that's on there good, 12 pins of power going to the CPU. We do have a beefy CPU, so we want to make sure we're supplying it good, ample power. So we've got all the major power connections plugged in. I'm just going to flip this back up so I can pull those cables back a little. Love me a good long majestic screwdriver, says my chin. Nice. I do like this one I use. This came from a cooler from Be Quiet. I think it's still on there. Yeah, that's pretty much rubbed off at this point. But these are the big, long, majestic screwdrivers maybe that you're talking about that Be Quiet sends with its coolers. I really like them because they are long for the depth to get into PCs while you're building. And it's got a magnetic tip that makes holding screws in place very handy. So always love me some Be Quiet stuff. Be Quiet's great. Fantastic products. Oh yeah, cable management on this PC is going to be, at least outside of dealing with all the cables from the fans, is going to be pretty nice. Last thing we want to do before we get to the GPU, I know you guys are probably chomping at the bit to see that, and I'm chomping at the bit to get to it. We want to plug in the CPU power stuff to the controller so that way the pump spins up and all that stuff when we boot up. We'll probably take care of getting this cable managed somewhere. I'm thinking we might even be able to mount it directly onto the power supply or something like that. So we'll see. Just a good spot for it for now. For now, as far as just getting it installed and verify that it works, we're just going to very generically get it plugged in. And we do have to plug in this USB cable, which I forgot about, which I have to run to the front of the case, which I'll do one real quick, which again is another good reason why we discovered that before we got the GPU going, because then that would have been really hard to get this installed. All right, there we go. Should be all we need for now. Beautiful. All right, so that's good. Come back around on this. This needs to go to the controller. So this is kind of like all the brains that are involved with RGB and pump control and all that stuff that needs to go to the controller, and I believe it only goes to one spot. Looks like, yeah, from memory serve. So the good thing with that is we're just lining up the white parts of the controller together. So white to white, right there. These are really delicate little pins here. Beautiful. Make sure that's good and seated in there. And then it requires USB, another USB. It's crazy how much wiring just this cooler needs. But it needs another front panel USB, which is this guy. Here we go. USB and a SATA power connection. So we'll do the SATA power connection real quick since we've got it right here. And these are keyed only to go one way, so just double check before you mash them together. They do break pretty easily, so yeah, just check what you're doing. And we can shove all the rest of that out of the way, and then I need to run this other USB 2.0 to the front of the motherboard. And that's going to go right here. I'm just plugging in real fast, saving time. And I am just going to give this a good shove. We don't want to get that 12VH power cable ready to go because that'll be next for the GPU though. Okay, again, don't mind the mess. It's a ton to deal with for me right now, and it would be very boring for you, so I want to get you guys the good juicy parts. I'm gonna just shove that back there too. But we should be able to have at least, I do want some fans spinning though. That would be nice to see. We'll see if we can get to that. Some fans to show off some color, all that. We're spinning. I think what we want to do now is lay it flat and get the GPU and GPU bracket back in there that we took out early on. So laying that back down. Definitely loving the look of this PC. Look at that. I think all the white is looking pretty good together. What do you guys think? My chin says, I'm so bad at cable management. Yeah, it's not my favorite thing either. Okay. I gotta find my, here is the PCIe extender, GPU extender. And I got the 4 little screws it came with. Hopefully still have them. Yeah, here they are. Beautiful. Okay. Now, what I might have to do is tip it back up actually, because I can't really see where those screws go. Oh, we had that little plastic bracket with it too. Here it is. Yeah, I'm gonna tip that back up. Get this height thing out of the way for the moment. Tip it back up, install it, then tip it back down. Stand by. I think we should be able to capture this no problem though, by just putting it like that and putting you guys on main screen. There we go. Okay, so this will go like this. I can actually get that installed on the motherboard. So this will come with a cover. I'm just going to pull that off to expose the PCIe connectors, gold connectors that will go into the motherboard. Just line that up like you would like a normal GPU, because it's going to transfer all the data to the extension that's going to go to the GPU. So that just goes top slot? Oh no, second slot. It was originally installed in the top slot. We need to move it down one slot. I see now. So I'm going to pull out one of these brackets real quick. There we go. And then this guy should go right here. Just line it up with the PCIe slot on the motherboard. There we go. Give it a good firm push. I'll put a screw back in to hold that down well, because we're going to be kind of yanking on it a little bit. There we go. Okay, so now I got to just get this mounted back to its proper location, which was right there. Okay, and then this just goes over the top of it to kind of manage the cables. So this is pretty simple, but hard to do without it sitting like this. So we're about to get to the grand finale, guys. Almost there with the GPU, and then almost there with the power on. get this screw in. Height did this right too. So this bracket is insulated around plastic. So this part right here, where it's sitting down, this is not metal, which makes it safe to mount. So they thought of everything when they did this, because where you could potentially have an issue is a metal on metal mounting system like this and short something. I think some older PCIe extensions like this, you'd run that risk with like older cases or cases that weren't necessarily meant for it. So this case is completely built around this idea, so that makes it really safe. But it's also it's plastic, like on plastic. So the metal parts are, these screws are actually like plastic screws. They're not driving into metal, which is good. I like that they did that. Okay, now we'll spin it back on its back. Get this GPU ready. This thing is gaining weight quickly. All right. Go to the overhead. Now this says, it's a little piece of plastic here. You probably can't see. It says I have to remove it before installation. I'm actually thinking I probably am better off now that I think about it. I'm so used to installing GPUs this way for the stream, but we'll actually have a better view with it because it's going to sit face up like this. So I'm going to flip it back. Okie doke. And then go back to that normal view because we're going to talk about the GPU for 2 seconds before we get it in there. All right, just making room because the GPU is a monster, an absolute unit. So for those of you that have been waiting, one, thank you for sticking it out this long. I know it's been over 2 hours at this point. This isn't your normal build, and we'll pretty much be summing it up here pretty soon. Excuse me. But what do we got here is Gigabyte Aero GeForce RTX 4080 Super. So a couple things about this GPU. One, it's an all-white GPU, which is definitely hard to find, but it is a 4080 Super. So there are some requirements for the build being, one, it had to be a white GPU. Two, it had to be NVIDIA GPU because G Squeezy does streaming. Especially I'm not sure if he's going to convert his old PC into his stream PC, but more typically NVIDIA GPUs are better due to the CUDA acceleration and the NVENC encoders for streaming while gaming on the same system. So NVIDIA typically is what I recommend if you're doing that sort of thing. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't do it with an AMD card. It's just something that I more typically recommend if you're going to that level, especially, you know, there's nothing much that's faster than a 4080 Super. Actually, there's only one card that's faster than a 4080 Super, and that's a 4090. And the only real reason, well, there's a couple of reasons too, while we landed on the 4080 Super, other than color, other than needing NVIDIA, other than what other things did I say? But it also comes in about $1,000 less or more, about $1,500 less than your average 4090. So imagine this, just with one part going up from a $3,000 build to a $4,000 to $4,500, maybe even $5,000 build. So that's a big difference maker. That's a lot of money. And G Squeezy and I got to talking. The big things that a 4090 does provide, yes, it does provide the most top tier gaming experience possible, but it becomes more of a diminishing return. So you're getting less for more as you get towards the top. That's kind of really what a diminishing return definition is. So for him and for what I recommended, it wasn't worth going all the way to the top because he's going to get a ton of frames with this 4087 or 4080 Super. In fact, I'm willing to bet he would be able to get maybe similar frame rates playing at, I think what he plays at right now is 1080. He could get probably on his 3070 Ti currently in his current build with, he could probably get the same frame rates at 1440p with this 4080 Super. So that's the story behind the 4080. And it also took us a long time to find one because in white, They're very difficult to find. Or just any 4080 Super in general, because they just released. But here, let's get this guy open and see what we're dealing with. All right, so I'm gonna slide it out of the box here, like so. And super awesome premium packaging. I love it. I'm gonna scoot this just a little more because I really want you guys to see this. This is a cool experience. Okay, here we go. Get this white cable out of the way and all that. So Gigabyte, and it's hilarious. Like, oh, that's nice. Ooh, it's nice for your DVD CD-ROM drivers that nobody ever uses and probably hasn't been a thing in the last 10 years. So hilarious, but I guess a way to kind of add some suspense to the opening. We're never going to use that. But here's the beefy unit. So let's get this guy out. Urgh, this thing is a monster. Literally the biggest video card I've ever seen in my life. Now there are some cool things that this does come with. Like if you're not using the height case, they actually do come with like some anti-sag brackets. These are like chunky metal. This is like thick aluminum that you can mount into your case in order to support it, because it is a huge graphics card, huge graphics card. And this is, I guess, the other parts to the mounting system. If you want to use a less or more, I guess, traditional mounting, you know, that's the screws that goes with it. All this we won't need. And then, of course, what we were trying to get away from by going with a 12VH power connection is the adapter that NVIDIA comes with. And remember I was talking about like things being plugged in properly? They really want you to make sure of that. So I wasn't joking when I was trying to go with the correct power supply connections. So not good, good. And this is where, if this was happening, not fully plugged in, people potentially, or at least what NVIDIA tries to claim to get themselves out of a PR disaster, is people not fully plugging these in and this end of the cable and the connection to the GPU melting. So I don't know if NVIDIA is 100% correct on that. I don't know if it's actually ever been discovered what is the cause of that, other than NVIDIA deciding to change their power setup. But I thought I'd try to get away from any of that being a potential and just going with a straight power connection from the power supply. So I think we made a good move with that. The melter, says my chan. Yep, exactly. All right. My chan says I'm rocking an ancient 2080 Super. Doesn't it feel like it's ancient? But honestly, 2080 Super is a heck of a card still to this date. So there's nothing wrong with that at all. All right, so here is the GPU. Get it out of the anti-static bag. It's so gigantic. If you guys do follow my socials, I did have to just take a look at this out of the bag. So it's been out of the bag once just to see the size of this thing, because when it shipped to my house, I had no idea it was a graphics card. I literally thought it was something else, because that box, as you saw, is huge. And then imagine the external box packaging around that. It's like, what the heck is that? It was the GPU. Golly, look at that thing. Woo! I'm really confident about the looks too, because we've got the motherboard that's following the same trend of the whites and silvers. So this is gonna just look spot on perfect. But a monster card, absolute monster. It's a unit. So I'm gonna just get some better looks at it here real quick. There's lots of stuff to get off of it, so we got a lot of wrapping to get off. I'm gonna do that now because I feel like that would be a pain with it installed. Plus, we'll get to show off the white brilliance here. So you guys are seeing it first. Nice. I think we had some more. I don't know if we have any on the fan blades. I think we might. Those will be easy to take off if I need to, because it'll be facing right at us. But look at this thing. It's a 4-slot card. It's freaking so huge. It's an absolute unit. But that's gonna look so dang good. Yeah, they got one in the back too. Definitely want to take off these plastic parts before you turn it on, because sucker will get hot. You don't want that melting on your card. Yeah, look at that giant pass-through heatsink. Huge. Yeah. It's the first time me touching some type of gigantic card like this. All right. Let's get it installed. So the idea here is we're just going to line up that already in place PCIe bracket extension, and this thing is a 4-slot card, so we're going to take up all these slots. It will only, actually screw down 2 of the slots on the bracket, but it's going to, because it's so thick, it's going to take up the remaining slots. So pretty awesome. But something to also consider with this case too, if it's just purely a gaming PC like this and you don't really have any other like extra adding cards that you have to worry about dealing with, then you're fine. But if you're running a capture card and you're running anything else like maybe a 10 gigabit LAN card or something, you're going to run into some issues using this case for that matter. So I think, yeah, let me get this one. I think we just get by with taking these first 2 brackets off. My chan says, that card needs to start jogging and eating some fruit and veggies. Yeah, no kidding. I guess we kept with a theme, this being a big wide build with a big wide GPU. Look at that. It's so huge. All right, I'm going to take the PCIe connector off, or the cover, and just kind of first eyeball this. So we're coming in hot. Okay. Golly. This is absolutely nuts. Oh, I see something. They have a protector film over the PCIe connection. It said removed, but it didn't come all the way off. So now I got it off. So this was over the top of the PCIe extension. Now we can get that in. Okay, I think I'm all lined up. Whew. Oh my goodness. And actually there's a fair amount of like air gap going on underneath. That's also where the extra fans are going to go. That'll actually be done from the bottom of the case up. But the really cool thing about that is where that sits in accordance to where the GPU is, it's just going to direct feed the GPU air. So that's going to be really nice to keep the GPU nice and cool. Not to say that with this enormous heatsink that it has, that it won't stay cool already. All right, so we're just going to get that buttoned up. Thing is just absolutely insane. All right, what do you think, G Squizzy? I think I saw you earlier. You liking it? that card gonna work for you? It better. Otherwise, I'm taking it. All right, I'm gonna make sure that's good and buttoned down. All right, that's good and tight. That's in there. That's going over. That's a really solid mount too. It's not real flimsy. Height did a really good job with that. Okay, so now to bring the power around for that big bad boy. I'm trying to think of, I can make a pretty neat power run actually where you won't even hardly see it. So I can just straight come up from the bottom. I think that's what I'll do. The only problem is I kind of wish I did this before I installed the GPU, but I think I can manage. This will be a fun grab here. Oh boy. Come on. Okay, there we go. There's the power connection. I gotta see. I want to make sure I connect it correctly, so I'm just gonna take the time here myself, and then maybe I can put the overhead on to give that. Yeah, sorry guys, I can't really get that too well. You can, I guess, kind of see it, but just making sure I get this connected properly. Want to make sure we have a really solid connection as the instructions showed. You know, don't want to have any doubt about this whatsoever. Okay, there we go. That is 1000% in there. I just want to be careful pulling the cable back just a little bit too, that way we're not putting tension on the cable itself as it gets cable managed ever so slightly. We're just doing it kind of quick and dirty. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you can't even, this is what's really cool about how the card was designed. I spin it like that angle, you can't even see a power connection. So it's a very clean run, very clean. Okay, we're coming up on 2.5 hours. Definitely went a little bit longer than I think. We're very close. Everything's installed, everything's plugged in, minus extra fans. I'm gonna spare you guys that. Unless you guys are dying to see it, I think we probably all are just dying to see this thing boot up and work for the first time. So we probably, if you guys are okay with it, we won't have these fans back here lit up or spinning. We'll have the GPU, we'll have the power to everything else that's the core components. If you guys want to see all fans spinning, let me know now. Otherwise, I think I'm gonna YOLO it and go with just getting it powered on and calling it a night, because this has been a longer build, but a well worth it, because this thing looks awesome. It's definitely going to need a good amount of time invested into just getting it looking absolutely perfect. But I think I'm going to go with what I was saying and get some power applied to this guy, and let's give it a post test. Because I'm getting kind of tired too. I've been standing for 2.5 hours. And it's warm in here. This room just collects heat with all the stuff I got running. Got like 5 lights on me. I'm ready to call it a day. Okay, so I'll get my, we have the main things plugged in, so the fans up top for the radiator will spin, the pump will spin and cool the PC properly. Of course, all the fans on the GPU will spin. We probably won't have a load to actually spin them, so they may not spin at all. But as far as aesthetic, yeah, it needs a little bit of work. Oh, we accidentally unplugged the USB. Not that it matters, because I'll do some hardcore cable management later on. But we'll get everything top-notch, absolutely beautiful. Let's take the peely off the CPU cooler. There we go. I think there's one that's around it too. Or did I get that? Oh no. I'll get that one later. Because that's, I gotta really dig my fingers. I might have to actually, now that I say that, I can just pull this off real quick. There's the peely. Come on, peely. Come on. Almost. Got it. These things are sometimes always so hard to start. There we go. Beautiful. Try not to touch the black part, because that's the part that'll collect. There's one more on here. That's hard to get off. I think there is. Oh, the black part isn't even the part that collects fingerprints. Anyway, I'm just going to shove this back on here for now. Like I said, I'll work out the fine details in the next content to come, because there will be one more video on this. Well, a video as opposed to a live stream, but a video, because we got to see how this guy does. I mean, this is a monster PC. We can't leave it at this. But let me get power to my motherboard, or my monitor here real fast. I'm gonna just get a USB. I'm trying to find a HDMI connection. Oh, that's okay. We do. I was like, oh no, I hope we have an HDMI for the actual GPU. So we got 3 display port. I think it's like 1.4, the latest display port, and the latest HDMI. This monitor is just HDMI, so I need some video output. And then I'm gonna grab my power without unplugging everything else. Let's do that. For the why do I keep calling this a motherboard? I guess I've just been talking for so long. And then power for the monster PC itself. That's plugged in. Oh yeah, to actually turn it on, I gotta reach all the way around here. Okay, so power is on. All right, here we go, guys. Let me take a quick sip of water here. Drum roll. All right. Power is on in the back of the PC. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, I heard that water spin through. Nice. Oh, I didn't know the arrow lights up. Hey. Okay. So we got action. I love how that cooler boots up. It's like the logo flashes. We've got some cooling temperature. We're at 26°C on the coolant temperature. Do we have a post? Give us a post. Making sure I got power on this guy. Oh, did I not turn it on? Oh, it is on. Okay. Come on, baby. This could, I've heard DDR5 actually takes a little bit more time to memory train. So we could be running into that. So giving it just a little bit of time. Should have everything. Yeah, we don't have side fan spinning just because we didn't plug them in because it's a lot of work. Oh, yeah, all right. I was getting a little bit worried there, but I've heard the DDR5 memory for our very first boot up does take a second. I think if I don't have a, I don't know, hopefully you guys can kind of see that, but we just got the main reset TPM or whatever, or FTPM. It's posted, so I just need to plug in a keyboard to actually get through this and get to the BIOS screen. But oh, what the heck, I'll do it just so you guys can see it. Hold on, I gotta do that. Where is a spare motherboard? Or man, I keep saying motherboard, keyboard. I guess this will be a good test to see if our USB is working at the front too, right? Give you guys the extra little value here since we're not doing the fans. This is a junky keyboard. Just gonna kind of plop it up here. Or I'll just plug it in back here. Be way easier. Okay, so with this, it always, I think you just gotta hit yes. Y. There we go. All right, so then we'll see at least our BIOS screen to ensure everything is working properly. Yeah, that thing is ice cold though, 27 degrees. I mean, it's not doing anything, but yeah. Oh, I didn't realize my fans aren't spinning up top. Oh, those need connection too. I forgot about all of them. But there's nothing to worry about. Obviously, we see coolant temperatures very, very chill. Course is, oh, what's that? Okay, there we go. Oh, the motherboard layout is even ice white. Check that out. That's pretty interesting. So clearly it's running, it's posted. The CPU, the GPU, everything's running. Looks like we've got, just see if we got all of our memory detected. I'm reading upside down, so very hard. So Ryzen 7 7800X. We've got all 16 gig DIMMs populated for a total of 64 gigs. CPU frequency running at, it'll fluctuate. CPU temperature is 32 degrees and 28 on the coolant temperature. So that's interesting too, since we don't have the fans plugged in, nothing spinning our lid up at the top. You can see the ambient amount of cooling that just pumping water through the radiator allows for it to stay nice and cool. So lots of work ahead. As far as cable management, like guys, if I went through all that, plugged in all the fans, we'd be here for another hour and a half. I'm getting tired. I know some of y'all are from different time zones too, so definitely stay tuned. I've got a lot more coming on this PC. G Squeezy's gonna be showing off. He's gonna be gaming on it. He's gonna be crushing people on Fortnite. I expect at least a 200 FPS uplift from what he's already doing right now, if not more. This thing is just a gaming monster and the most powerful PC I've built in stream to date. So keep them coming. But anywho, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I really appreciate all of the super chats. Y'all went just nuts on that. I appreciate G Squeezy's fandom following and sticking with me to the end. I know this was a bit of a longer stream, but I think a well worth it one. Like I said, don't mind the somewhat incompleteness of the PC as it is right now, but we're definitely going to have it looking top-notch beautiful here in the days to come. So thanks for tuning into this one, guys. Appreciate your time and the donations and just being involved in the chat and having fun with me. Stay tuned as we got more coming. Take it easy, guys. Have a good one.